Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. Broadcasting to you live from the Orion spiral arm of the Milky Way galaxy, the solar system, planet Earth, North America, the United States of America, somewhere in between two formerly tariffed nations. My name is Brian Engelman, and this is the Agree to Disagree show here on the New American Media, because the old American media failed you. You know it failed you. I knew it failed me. That's why I started this all these years ago. Boy, oh boy, was I ahead of the curve. Was I ahead of the curve or what? Now we know that the lying legacy media is not your friend. They cannot be trusted. They're dirty rapscallions. Filthy rapscallions. That's a good word, rapscallion. Well, sir, I say, sir, the word rapscallion should come back henceforth. Haven't used that term in a fortnight. Dude, I knew this guy, John, in college. He used to have the coolest phraseology. He had the most fun vocabulary. Every time I was around him, it would cause me to elevate my wordsmithery. Even just thinking about him, I feel like trying to use more complicated words and methods to articulate my innermost emotions. I miss that. You know, they say you become a combination of the people you spend the most time with. Are you spending your time with losers? Or are you spending your time with winners? That's a good question. So before we get into today's news, Bobby Kennedy Jr. has been confirmed with HHS Secretary. Oh my gosh. Oh my Lord, 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 Lord. We're down to just one major appointment left, I believe. There's probably more, but Kash Patel, waiting on Kash Patel. When is Kash Patel coming in? Waiting on Kash Patel. Oh my gosh. Let's get to Kash Patel. We're going to get to all these stories, but my gosh, I went to a government building today. I had a matter that I needed to resolve with a government agency today. Ugh. Booked the appointment weeks ago. You can't just book an appointment and go. It takes weeks. Then you go. And they tell you where it's at, so you go. And you're like, all right, I'm pulling in. There's nowhere to pull in. Oh, it's fenced in. Oh, okay. It's barricaded off. Oh, okay. Employees only. All right. Guess street parking. Oh, street parking wants to charge you. Nah. Okay. Pull into a metered spot. Walk out, close the door, walk over to it, ready to put some quarters in. E. And it says if the machine is malfunctional, you cannot park here. Oh. And the guy in front of me did the same thing, and he started yelling and swearing. And he had boxes in his hand. He put his boxes in, slammed the car door, and took off. I'm like, maybe he forgot something. I pulled into his spot because my meter was broken. His meter said E. I'm at an appointment for something I don't even need to go to. Had the other people done their jobs accurately, my involvement would have been unnecessary. My subsequent involvement in 10 to 15 hour to 2 hour long phone calls would have been unnecessary, let alone this appointment. I drove around that entire city block. Every parking meter's broken, and you can't park there. It says right there, if the parking meter's not operational, you cannot park here. You'll be ticketed. I'm getting angrier and angrier and angrier. It's 15 degrees, by the way. 15 degrees. One of the coldest days we've had in recent memory. I have to get out. I'm ringing the buzzer. The security's like, you're going to go the building is straight ahead. If you go to the no, the parking inside is only for employees only. You can't have Where's you going to talk it over there? I'm like, okay. I eventually find a parking lot where I pay $6. Okay. Get inside this place. The wallpaper's peeling off the walls. You can see one of the doors. You walk down this long, drab hallway. I mean, it feels like you're in hell. You just feel like you're in hell. It's a governmental building. You can see where one of the doors had been opened so hard that it busted through the drywall where the door is supposed to stop. Never been repaired. Wallpaper peeling off at the edges all down the hallway. All of the water fountains are inoperable. Multiple water fountains inoperable. Use the restroom after my long appointment in there. And it says big signs like, do not drink this water. Do not cook food. Do not cook food with this water. So if you can't drink it, if you can't cook with it, why am I washing my hands with it? Like what? Why am I washing my hands in non-potable water? What the hell is happening? How bad is the plumbing inside of this shit building? I get in there. Oh my God. The person that I set the appointment with. Oh, by the way, on my drive down there, I get a phone call from a really weird number. I go, if I wasn't on my way to an appointment right now at a government building, I wouldn't even take this call, but let's roll the dice. Hi, can I speak with Mr. Brian Engelman? May I ask who's calling? Hi, I'm so-and-so with so-and-so department. Uh-huh. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to cancel our meeting today. I go, what? I said, I'm 7 minutes away. I got up early. I got all my paperwork and documents together. Everything that's been requested of me that I've already done 15 times, I'm doing again because I'm trying to resolve this issue and get it off my to-do list. It's been on my to-do list for more than a year. Is there somebody else that you can schedule an appointment with? Please hold. I'm woosah. Trying to find my zen. Okay, if you're able to come in, someone else can see you. So now I'm sitting in the, please sit down and I'll get you a number like a deli. You're like at a deli. And I'm like, okay. Okay, I'm at a deli. All right. And I hear the person behind me. Yeah, hi, I'm sorry, ma'am. The person who normally handles this is out today, and I'm not trained to handle this type of issue. And as President Obama would say, this is what would he say? Not inoperable. What would he say? I'm blanking on the phrase. This is something like, this is less than ideal. Maybe the phrase will come to me. But he said it twice. Both people that went to go see this guy are like, hi, I'm here because the person you booked your appointment with isn't here, and I can't help you. And as Obama would say, this is suboptimal, maybe, he said. Maybe it was suboptimal. Let me see, was that a phrase? Barack Obama said that the deaths of 4 Americans in Benghazi were not optimal. Maybe that's what he said. This is not optimal. He was quoting Obama saying this is not optimal. In a federal government building twice. And I'm going, oh my God, they tried to cancel my meeting. They could have called me the day before instead of waking up early and getting all these documents and driving down to a place that it doesn't have parking, or no parking, no parking meters. Then when I get there after walking 15 degrees in the cold, I'm going to talk to someone who can't help me. So they called my number. I went in, talked to some girl, a woman, young woman, not the guy who was saying, as President Obama says, this is not optimal. So she took a look at things. She goes, I don't understand the problem either. I go, that's what the last 15 people have told me. What's going on? How do we fix it? She's like, well, I'm not gonna be able to do that you're asking for today, but I can do this. Let me look in here. Let me do that. Do you have this stuff? Do you have this document? Do you have this? I'm just stacking up papers. I'm like, you guys keep mailing me shit for no reason. You guys keep, what do you need? I keep telling everyone I exist. I'm a real human. That was how my day started. That was my day. I felt like I was in hell. I really do. Speaking of being in hell, let's talk to T. Hey, T. T says we need someone who openly admits that he was addicted to injecting heroin for 14 years like RFK to make important medical decisions for Americans. Yeah, who do you recommend? Fauci? With his beagle torture? With his kitten torture? Huh? Fauci? Is that who you recommend, T? Is that who you recommend? The one that told us to wear masks and said that masks don't work and said that you got to wear masks and you got to have a mask mandate and you got to have a vax mandate and that guy? The one that said you shouldn't have monoclonal antibodies that were helping people save lives in Florida when my brother needed his life saved and they banned it and his doctor didn't know where to find it. It was 6 miles down the road because Fauci was trying to ban that shit because if there were other options for treatment, they would lose emergency authorization protections. Is that who you want to trust? You want to trust Fauci, T? That's who you want to trust. You want to trust Fauci? Yeah, emergency use authorization. They had blanket liability protection because there were no therapeutic options. So they banned all the therapeutic options and said, oh, ivermectin, yeah, that thing that's a Nobel Award-winning prize drug with almost no side effects, with billions of doses served. Yeah, now that's horse paste now, and you're not allowed to use that. No, people were being helped with that. People were reporting that it really helped them. Same with hydroxychloroquine. You want to trust Fauci? And Obama and Biden? That's who you want to trust? No, I'll take RFK Jr. 100%. Thank you. By the way, is it USAID that funds you, T? You keep checking out the feed, and every day you do a copy paste. Here's what your idiot masters want you to do, what they want you to say. That's T. T shows up on every show now. Appreciate you watching. I do. I hope you watch the whole show and comment the whole show. Or do you just get paid per comment, like one comment per show, and then you slither back into your nether regions? Yeah, I felt like I was in hell at that government building today. And I see Doge going into these government buildings and just the number of buildings that are underused or completely vacant is staggering. Yeah, sell all those off. This building looked like it hadn't had any attention to it in 40 years. And that's the creeping bureaucracy of a nation. It's the creeping government inertia of nothingness. None of the departments communicate with each other. I went out. I told the woman the young lady who was trying to address my issue, and I'm like, when I booked this, you could have told me there's a parking lot at X and Y intersection, and I would have gladly went there. I said, I thought you had parking. There was no parking. I went for street parking. There was no street parking. This was insane. I drove around your place multiple times, getting anger at every single parking meter that I walked up to. Parked the car, walked out, took a look. Error. Nobody's paying attention to the streets. Nobody's paying attention to the building. It's incompetence everywhere. Things falling apart everywhere. And that's what America's turned into. Sadly, it doesn't need to be this way. But it's something that's crept into every aspect of our society. And that was how my day began. That's why I'm not doing a TNAM AM show, because I was up at 7 a.m. Bing, bing, bing. I was up and at them. Question of the day, what is that from? Up and at them. Leave it in the comments. Up and at them. That's how my day began. So now I'm going to shake that off like Taylor Swift getting booed in a Super Bowl and to give you the news of the day. Thanks for joining us. Hit like, hit subscribe, however you are finding us today. Today had the least amount of frustration getting my stream set up. Was able to negotiate a couple of things on the infrastructure that I need to deliver you this program. So it's gotten easier over the last 3 days. Really threw a GD monkey wrench into things, but it's all right. It's all right. Life throws you monkey wrenches. You know what you do? You grab it and you start fixing something. Speaking of which, holy shit, they want a lot to give me an oil change and replace a burnt out light bulb. in my car. $206. 2 light bulbs, 1 oil change. This is stupid. The amount of inflation that's occurred in this country. It is stupid inflation. And it's rampant spending that causes it. All right. I'm warmed up. Got that out of my system. Thank you all for joining me. Wow. I hope you don't have to have a day like I had. And it's still not over. My issue is still not resolved. They entered me into some other system, and in 3 to 4 weeks, somebody will get back to me, allegedly. And then since there's no problem, they'll probably handle the issue, because every other person I've talked to said, I don't see the issue. I said, I don't see the issue either. If you need something, ask me. I've given everything you've asked. Where are we at? It's been 4 years. 4 fucking years I've been dealing with this issue. 4 fucking years. We cannot cut government fast enough. We cannot cut government large enough. We cannot design some efficiencies in the system. That's the final point I want to make on that. The person, I said, when I booked the appointment, I told the young lady who was helping me when I booked the appointment, you could have just told me to park at this corner. She goes, well, I understand. Trust me, I understand. She goes, I can't even park here. Blah, blah, blah. Something it's like military clearance. I'm like, what the hell's going on? And she's like, you should tell the manager. She's the one that checked you in. I go, that's the manager. She said, yeah. And on my way out, the guy was, so I waited. And, can I help you? I said, yeah, by the way, I had a hell of a time, because I heard another guy. He's like, I'm Sergeant so-and-so. And when I sat down, given my Delhi number, this guy's like, yeah, I got injured in Afghanistan, and it delayed this, and I'm trying to get this squared away. And she goes, I'm sorry, sir. You're 17 minutes at, you're 17 minutes past your appointment time, and we can only accept people up to 15 minutes later. And I grabbed my chair, like I was ready to pounce. I had like a spring cushion, because I won't bore you with the details, but the things that I started yelling in my car, the more that I started slamming my door closed after every time I was getting out at these parking meters that were all broken, all inoperable, error, E. Then they're like, oh, go ahead and download our app to do it that way. If the machine's not functional, I'm like, I'm not downloading another freaking app. I have too many apps. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing the apps. I'm not downloading a brand new app to try to link up some card to get my information on some other system that can get hacked to pay you $2.25 for an hour of parking here. Just take the fucking quarters. What world did I wake up in? You can't go to a restaurant and, all right, yeah, I'm kind of hungry. I'll see a menu. Oh yeah, here's the QR code's right in front of you. You can just download it. I'm not downloading another thing. Those things barely work half the time, 40% of the time if I'm lucky, and I'm not doing it. I don't want more shit on my phone. Hand me a menu. Let me put quarters in the meter. I'm starting to. I got increasingly frustrated. But anyway, the point is, I was ready to jump up and defend that service member who was 17 minutes late. I was gonna be like, hold on. No, I'm vouching for him. I drove around here 45 minutes looking for a spot. I couldn't find a spot. No, I'm vouching for him. And my point to tell that lady after my appointment was that when I made the appointment weeks ago, you could have just told me there's parking at this intersection at this parking lot for $6 a day. Like, I would have just went there. She goes, I know. It's the inefficiency of this department. I said, yeah, I know. It's amazing that nobody can talk to anybody. In the last 10 people I talked to, nobody can see a problem with anything, but nobody can process what I need to resolve the issue. So the problem is when you call in, you might be talking to somebody from Nebraska or Connecticut. I'm like, so when they say you're going to book an appointment in this city, you're telling me that it won't give you some sort of guideline for parking where you can direct people to save them an hour of hassle? The more Doge gets in and looks around at all of these government programs and all these government agencies, the more unstreamlined things appear to be. We're in 2025. Figure it out. Hello, Robin McBride. Thanks for being here too. I don't think I'm having sinus issues or coming down with the cold. I've probably been Probably had a couple of sniffing moments there. Feeling good. Taking my vitamin C, my D, my zinc. Vitamin C, D, and zinc. And that usually does the trick for me. Also a probiotic. I don't know. It served me pretty well so far. Yeah, maybe a little bit. Maybe I'll vacate the nasal cavity as we play one of these video clips. I'll mute the channel and do that. Thank you, Robin. Thanks for watching, by the way. By the way, everyone hit like, hit subscribe to the Agree to Disagree show. I've kind of made a decision, and I'm hoping to enact this pretty doggone quickly. I'm thinking my TNAM AM show, and at some point this could turn into the TNAM PM show. It really could, depending on how I spend my 9 to 5 moments. But I think that would be a good time to unpack the news, and I think maybe Agree to Disagree would be a nice time to bring on guests. I like having guests on the program. Scrolling and I saw somebody. I'm like, oh, I've had you on the show a couple times. I actually went to a rally in front of City Hall in Los Angeles with you, yelling at Los Angeles about you need to do a better job treating homelessness. Haven't talked to you in a while. And he was complaining. He was saying a lot of people say, when am I going to get my show back? And how come I haven't been doing my show in the last couple of years? And why did Rogan take your episode down? I'm like, I'm like, what's up, dude? Haven't talked to you in a while. Maybe you should come on the Agree to Disagree show. He's like, yeah, what do I need to know? I still haven't gotten back to him yet because I've just been juggling all this other crap. But yeah, I'm thinking it'd be great to maybe book special guests on Agree to Disagree and then do the TNAM AM show or the TNAM PM show, unpacking the news. So a lot of exciting things on the way. Hit like, hit subscribe, the New American Media in all of the places. All right, let's jump into our Instagram feed. If you're not following the New American Media, we're on Instagram and Facebook under the New American Media, Rumble, YouTube, the New American Media. The Agree to Disagree show podcast is on Spotify, Apple Tunes, and all those podcast things. The Agree to Disagree show. Patreon.com/the New American Media. X at American_media_, and Truth Social, the New American Media. Well, here, check this out. Instead of Chance the Rapper, this is Lance the Rapper with the WRAPPER. This is Robert and John Kennedy in heaven after RFK Jr. is confirmed as HHS secretary.
Yeah! Hey, come on, baby! Come on! Yes! Come on! Ah! Yes!
All right. Just imagine you watch your dad get assassinated by deep state demons. You watch your uncle get assassinated by deep state demons. And now you're in charge of HHS and you have the president's ear, and the president is on a mission to rip out by the root the demonic influence that's been destroying this country intentionally for at least 62 years, if not more. Oh yeah. Right here at the bottom. We are on the best timeline. Do you know what this is a scene from right here where they're saying yes and they're high-fiving each other?
Hell yeah! Hey.
I can imagine Robert and John Kennedy in heaven after RFK is confirmed as HHS secretary, amped up like this.
Come on, baby! Come on! Yes! Come on! Ah! Yes!
Good for him. Good for him. Good for him. What is the context of this? I saw this one. The cop was in no mood. What meeting was this? Was this? Anyway, White House holds a hearing on USAID spending. So these protesters want to cause grief in the meeting. And so the comment here says, when your side has no legitimate arguments, this is what they resort to. Acting like a 6-year-old. The cop was not having it. Grabs him, yanks him, perp walks him. Goodbye, dorks. The cop at the hearing's like, get the out of here. Get out of here, dorks. Use your words. The heckler protest. Is there anything lamer than the heckler's protest? I'm standing here. I'm gonna make some noise. I'm gonna talk so you can't make a point. Burp, 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 burp. Bunch of dorks. I wonder who's paying those people. All right. Anyway, let's move away from dorks, and we'll get into more of the RFK Jr. getting confirmed as HHS secretary in a moment. We're going to talk about the one lone, well, probably not the only person remaining, but the most significant one being Kash Patel with the FBI. How soon can he get confirmed? We are so close to being full speed ahead. Let's go. But yeah. Here's Joe Rogan talking about what's happening right now.
And now with Tulsi, I think that's huge as well. I think, when Elon took over Doge, that was like the final avenger. Like, having that team together is such a unique team where you have prominent former Democrats, former eight-time Democrat for 8 years, Democrat congresswoman, who also served overseas in a medical unit twice. Like, this is, you've got an extraordinary group of human beings.
Extraordinary group of human beings, all of whom I think took very real risks.
Oh, yeah.
At the very least with their reputations.
Well, Tulsi got put on a terrorist watch list.
Tulsi got put on a terrorist watch list because she demolished Kamala Harris, their next puppet. Blew her out of the water. So they put her on a terrorist watch list. Remember that old meme, anyone I don't like is Shitler? Anybody I don't like is Shitler. Only I didn't say Shitler. Anybody I don't like is a Russian spy. Anybody I don't like is a Putin sympathizer. They're so full of it. They put Tulsi Gabbard, a hero, on the terror watch list just because she had wrongthink, just because she's the Democrat plantation of craziness. The Democrats never had support. All they did was bully people and threaten people. They're a bunch of schoolyard bullies. They're a bunch of schoolyard bullies. Nobody likes them.
Of course.
Which is fucking crazy.
And it was a gamble. Each of these people, Kennedy, Musk, Tulsi, they knew that they were taking that risk, and it was clear that they were motivated by patriotism, that they actually, this is what a soldier does, right? You know that you're taking risks for something that matters more than you.
Yes.
And, to watch Elon do it, I think also was just remarkable because, of course, in Elon's position, he could have done, what Zuckerberg does, right? And he could have played it safe and kept his options open and done what he was told, right, and then, apologize for it later.
And by the way, Zuckerberg came out. He's like, yeah, we're not going to be censoring people anymore. I was doing a stream the other day, 2 days ago. My Instagram feed was suspended while I was using it. I still can't leave comments. Here, let me test a comment. Let's see. MAGA team assemble. Oh, I'm allowed to use comments. I kept reporting an error. They're still messing with the algorithm. They're still messing with content. They claim they're not going to be censoring conservatives, libertarians, constitutionalists anymore. They're liars. Facebook is still doing it. Instagram is still doing it. They're still throttling our reach, not letting our viewers find our content. Oh, yeah, you can make content, just nobody can see it. You can't trust Zuckerberg at all.
Sort of, right? That wasn't what Musk did. He actually had the courage of his convictions. As many people have noted, his liberation of X set the stage for this election to even happen. That there wasn't anything you could put over on us that we couldn't unpack and, crowdsource a better interpretation of on X. And even if most people weren't on X, it was enough that their narrative engine just didn't work.
Right. And now with Tulsi, I think that's huge as well. I think, when Elon took over Doge,
yeah, this is the final set. No, not the final piece. We need Kash Patel in is pretty much the final piece.
And now with Tulsi, I think that's
all right. On to the next one. DC Drano. A Kennedy is back in the White House. I repeat, can't do the chat over. I wish I could condense the chat overlay because it's almost a perfect size. I'd like to keep that up and this, but when I do, then it cuts off the edge of Kennedy right there. And well, when I start getting more comments, I'll find a way. I could go up and down like that. It's not ideal, but I do like. Okay, back to this. DC Drano. A Kennedy is back in the White House. I repeat, a Kennedy is back in the White House. And Republicans put him there. 2025 is wild. People are angry about RFK's confirmation. Fauci, Bill Gates, Big Pharma. People happy about RFK's confirmation. mothers whose children were injured by vaccines, families who lost loved ones to oh my God. Yeah, I buried my mom at the beginning of COVID, and I buried my brother at the end of COVID. My name is Inigo Montoya. Anthony Fauci. Anthony Fauci has some explaining to do. And by the way, people happy about RFK's confirmation. Most of America. DC Drano, why not celebrate our historic defeat of Big Pharma with an emergency? Okay. With an emergency metal kit that has all the drugs they didn't want you to have during COVID. Yeah, so it's an advertisement. Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's actually a pretty doggone good idea. Maybe I should actually get the, I said the word actually too many times. Moving on. Here's JD Vance kind of summing up things. This is a clip that's worth noting now.
I was hanging out with my kids yesterday.
I brought up Kamala earlier and Tulsi, how she ended up on the watch list because she went against the deep state puppet Kamala Harris. Let's remember Kamala Harris and the Democrat Party.
Swimming at the swimming pool, and somebody brought over their phone and showed me the news that Joe Biden had announced he was dropping out of this race. And look, I don't like Joe Biden, and I don't like his policies. And I'm not a Democrat primary voter. I never have been, and I never will be, unless something goes really wrong, ladies and gentlemen. But look, what is going on in this country is absolutely disgraceful. Let me get a little philosophical here. I imagine most of you did not vote for Joe Biden. If you did, welcome aboard. We're glad to have you. But if you want to run for president, you've got to make your case to voters. You make your case to voters. That's what President Trump did, even though he would have already been the president. And even though he was by far the most popular person in the Republican Party, he ran for the Republican presidential nomination. He faced some good competition, and he made his case to voters. The idea of selecting the Democrat Party's nominee because George Soros and Barack Obama and a couple of elite Democrats got in a smoke-filled room and decided to throw Joe Biden overboard, that is not how it works. That is a threat to democracy, not the Republican Party, which is fighting for democracy every single day. I was hanging out with my kids yesterday. We're actually swimming at the...
It's not lost on me that Donald Trump did not participate in the Republican primary dog and pony show, but he already made his case to the public. He's like, I won in 2020, even more than 2016, they say. I'm not doing it. I'm not debating little Ronnie D, but you can still vote for me. It was always the Republican Party under MAGA. It was always the Republican Party under Trump after 2020. He didn't need to do that, but they went to the polls. He didn't even have to take part in their dog and pony, fake debates. The people all across the country selected Donald Trump to lead the party. Remember when Fox News had the debate that nobody wanted? You know how they called the Eagles-Chiefs rematch the Super Bowl nobody wanted? Well, people also called the Fox News debate between Gavin Newsom and little Ron DeSantis, the debate that nobody wanted. That's who the deep state wanted to put out there. Gavin Newsom on one side, little Ronnie DeSantis on the other. The people didn't want it, so that people didn't select it. Dr. Mark Khalil, says it's a bad day to be seed oils, fluoride, pesticides, fragrances, BPA, aluminum, mercury, Pfizer, Bayer, Moderna, or Monsanto. I can assure the public there will be a fight to end mandates in the United States. Congratulations, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. The health of America is fully in your hands. Oh, that's so nice. Caroline Levitt talking about Doge news shared from GLKCS. What is that, George Wang? George Wang, it says.
Earlier, the subcommittee headed by Chairman Marjorie Taylor Greene, her and her staff discovered $2.7 trillion in improper payments to Medicare, Medicaid overseas to people who should not have gotten it. Some in this room might have missed that press conference. Can you elaborate on what the president is thinking at this point?
Well, again, that's another example. There's a very long list of the fraud, waste, and abuse that DOGE is identifying on a daily basis. Elon Musk also talked about yesterday about Social Security payments that are going out the door for people who are no longer with us. Unfortunately, I would say that is certainly fraud. There's also a lot of contracts they've identified that, just as a hypothetical example, are $1 million, but only 500,000 went out the door. So where's the rest of that cash? And so that's the thing. Those are the things that DOGE is working on every single day. And I would just remind everybody in this room, this is what President Trump campaigned on doing. He's delivering on a promise that 70.
Second, earlier, the subcommittee
it kind of cut that out, but yeah, that is exactly what President Trump promised the people. Let's talk about USAID. Here's Thomas Massie, one of the best people in Congress, talking about borderline treason for taxpayers to fund the undermining of government that they elected. All right. We got Massie talking to Schellenberger. This is an all-star cast.
Schellenberger, can you explain how you traced USAID funding that served as the basis for whistleblower report in 2019, which led to the impeachment of President Trump?
Sure. Well, you may remember that the so-called whistleblower who was in the White House was actually a CIA analyst. And in that whistleblower's complaint, which led to the impeachment, one of the central pieces of evidence was created by a USAID funded and controlled organization called the OCCRP. And we have another piece out today about how it participated in the Russiagate hoax as well, creating essentially very important information leading to that. So, I mean, you have in USAID a much larger fund of money and a much broader strategy for information control that included censorship, but also, as I mentioned, taking control of investigative journalism really worldwide. I mean, its ambitions were, amazing. So yeah, I mean, that's an agency. When we saw that get shut down by DOGE, I thought that was completely appropriate. If there's something in there that it was doing that's valuable, then you could refund it later. But my view, same thing with CISA, death penalty for organizations that participated in violations of the First Amendment like CISA. Cybersecurity is an extremely important function. It shouldn't be contaminated and undermined by censorship activities.
Well, I think it's always been
the death penalty for the organizations that have engaged in such treasonous behavior. Yeah, you unplug the whole thing. If there's anything you need to plug back in, you do that separately and in a singular basis. You do not, you don't stay surgical and try to pull piece after piece. You drain the whole lake. What is it? The Caddyshack scene with the baby Ruth. If you think there's a turd floating in the pool, you drain the pool. So that part.
It's been known that our government has funded the change in administrations, if we can say it politely, of other governments, but
change of administrations and other governments. Those are called coups. It's what happened when Barack Hussein Obama and his money men, George Soros, etc., decided that they were going to stage a coup to get rid of Joe Biden and install Kamala Harris. It's what happened in 2020 when, as Time magazine says, they fortified the election to make sure they staged a coup to get rid of Donald Trump. A coup. It's what they did after 2016 to try to get rid of Donald Trump. Remember they impeached Trump for exposing the fraud in Ukraine? Wasn't that a USAID loan? Was that a USAID loan? Loan. Bribe that Biden was withholding? And son of a bitch, I got him to get rid of the investigator who was looking after my kid in Burisma and all of our kleptocracy. They were bragging about it in public. Exposing the fraud is not fraud. Exposing the fraud is righteous. But yeah, how we change other countries, that's called a coup. That's an overthrow. It's treason. It's how we've been operating everywhere for a long time, too long. And how do you back Lula instead of Bolsonaro? Help me understand that part. It's because the deep state are divisive demons. They don't work for us. They don't like us. We don't like them. We didn't elect them. We don't want them in that position. And this is the first time, maybe in our lifetimes, that we've ever seen a pushback. This is the one chance we have to do this. Full speed ahead.
Isn't it borderline treason when the taxpayer when organizations entrusted with protecting our country are now undermining our own government?
Absolutely. I mean, if you're trying to do regime change, illegal, if you're weaponizing DHS, FBI, CISA, that's treasonous regime change activities redirected, that you developed abroad, that we developed abroad for regime change, directed against the American people and our representatives. I mean, it's shocking, and we still haven't dealt with it as a country.
Mr. Chairman, I see my time has expired. I'd like to introduce into the record, or ask unanimous consent to introduce into the record, an article in Newsmax, Schellenberger, USAID paid for Trump impeachment effort, dated February 6, 2025.
Without objection. Gentleman yields back.
Mr. Schellenberger.
USAID funded the Trump impeachment. Holy shit. Look at these two. Look at these two old orange people. They wear their suits well. What a great day.
A real honor for me to introduce Robert F. Kennedy Jr., take the oath of office and officially become our Secretary of Health and Human Services.
20 years, I've gotten up every morning on my knees and prayed that God would put me in a position where I can end the childhood chronic disease epidemic in this country. On August 23rd of last year, God sent me President Trump.
Bobby is going to lead a great national mission to make America healthy again. A real
Literal tears. Such a great day is the comment. I'm leaving. Now that I'm allowed to comment on Instagram again. God sent me Donald Trump. Or God sent me President Trump. It's just there's been so much wrong with our country for so long. It's just so hard to put into words. Our medical industry has been a complete mess. All of the lies, all of the lies and misinformation, hiding the truth about some of the things that has been happening. I agree with President Trump. We don't want to put Bobby Kennedy in charge of all that much. We don't want you talking about guns and some of your other kooky ideas, but we want you focused on health. And there's a real risk when you take certain medications, when you take any medication, and just to deny it. I take that personal. If you're going to say that you're going to lose money because people are going to be too scared to get their kid this or that, stuff you still can't even talk about on YouTube because Google are monsters. They're all part of the old world order. It's not the new world order. It's the old world order. A lot of healthy people have been damaged by products. And you can understand why you would want blanket protections against the repercussions of the stuff that you're putting into people. But we want the truth, and we want accurate data, and we want it yesterday, and we want to hold you accountable if you've been lying to us, and you have been lying to us. A lot. And heads need to roll. I want Fauci in jail for the rest of his GD life. No, I don't. I think the treason he's committed, I think there's a penalty for the treason that he's committed. Oh, I'm so happy Bobby Kennedy's in here. We've got to get a handle on why Americans are so sick. A lot of it's food, a lot of it's substances we're consuming or injecting or swallowing. This is a great day. Bobby's in. Tulsi's in. Pam Bondi is in. Pete Hegseth is in. Now we're just waiting on Kash Patel. But yeah, I was at the Libertarian Convention when Bobby came out and gave a speech, and then President Trump came out and gave a speech. Here's the full, not the full, but here's the RFK Jr.'s acceptance speech. he says a part of that, but and by the way, how interesting was that? Just now, the clip that I shared on the previous post, that was from the White House page. I didn't even remember what it was like to see a post from the White House without only logging in to laugh at them or to call them out for the lies. It's been living under a totalitarian regime for 4 years. This third Obama term, they pretended was Joe Biden in charge. I've never seen a more backward. You read George Orwell 1984 and you're like, I mean, yeah, but it's not like it would ever get that bad. It got that bad. It got that bad. Literally, not figuratively, literally. Wrong think. Silencing your voice, your political opposition. All of it. The forced medicine, the travel restrictions. You can't work unless you take this thing, the mark of the beast. I mean, it was like everything you've been warned about. So yeah, it's just weird to see a post from the White House that I'm not only logging in to mock and ridicule. Here's Bobby Kennedy talking. You heard some of this, but I think he elaborates a little more.
For 20 years, I've gotten up every morning on my knees and prayed that God would put me in a position where I can end the childhood chronic disease epidemic in this country. On August 23rd of last year, God sent me President Trump, and he gave me he's now given me, he's kept every promise that he's made to me. He's kept his word in every account and gone way beyond it. I'm so grateful to you, Mr. President. A lot of people told me that I couldn't trust President Trump, that I better get it in writing. And we did a handshake, and everything that he told me he was going to do, he has done. And I'm so grateful to him, and I've told you before, I genuinely believe that you are a pivotal historical figure, and you are going to transform this country at a time when we see all of the indicia of democracy now in tatters in our country. We see the rise of the military-industrial complex, the rise of totalitarianism, these attacks on our Constitution, and this breathtaking epidemic that is disabling our people. President Trump has promised to restore the American dream in this country. A healthy person has 1,000 dreams. A sick person only has one. 60% of our population has only one dream, that they get better. President Trump has promised that he's going to restore America's strength. But we can't be a strong nation if we have a weak citizenry. If people are sick, 60% of our people are sick, 77%, as President Trump mentioned, of our children cannot qualify for military service. And we need a man on a white horse now. We need somebody who is willing to come in and has the spine and the guts and the strength to challenge orthodoxies, to stand in the way of vested interests, and to break institutions that have turned against our democracy. President Trump has shown again and again that he is that hero. And most recently, I greatly appreciate it, and I called you the day that you announced the termination of USAID. My uncle started USAID in 1961.
Okay. John F. Kennedy started USAID in 1961. And the fact that Bobby Kennedy Jr. now is coming around to like fix these assassinations, to fix the health epidemic, to fix all of the coups across the globe and trying to be Team America World Police and coups at home and abroad, all over the place, the deep state traitors. The fact that Bobby gets to be a part of this is inspirational, and it is out of a storybook.
For humanitarian purposes, to put our country on the side of the poor. It has been captured by the military-industrial complex. It has become a sinister propagator of totalitarianism and war across the globe. And very few people understand how sinister this agency really is. And President Trump saw that, and he stood up to it with a masterstroke. And we want to do the same thing with the institutions that are stealing the health of our children. We need a revolutionary figure, and you are that figure, and I'm very grateful for you for giving me this opportunity. I want to recognize some of the allies that I've had in this battle for a long time: Senator Rand Paul, Senator Ron Johnson, Senator Roger Marshall, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and Buddy Carter, who've all been champions of the MAHA agenda before I even came along.
I just love that it's called the MAHA agenda. MAGA and MAHA. How cool is that?
I'm very grateful for you for standing strong. Thank you very much, President Trump. Or
I come on, if that doesn't hit you right in the feels.
Name something completely non-sexual that...
If that doesn't hit you right in the feels, I don't know what will. Becky Weiss shares this one. Name something completely non-sexual that turns you on, she asks.
Turns you on. Okay, I'll go first. Doge just entered the IRS.
Doge just entered the IRS.
I need a drink of water. Name something completely
Yeah. Yeah. Anybody else? Anybody else feeling that too? This is great. Chris Farley from Saturday Night Live. Hey, remember when you put Tulsi on your terror watch list, Quiet Skies? And then she became your boss? That was awesome. That was awesome. Transportation Security Administration. You put Tulsi on the terror watch list and now she's your boss. Man, that's fantastic. All right. So here's Cara Castronova. You know, the swearing in ceremony, and got to ask a question.
Mr. Kennedy, Cara Castronova from Lindell TV. What's your message to Democrats in the Senate that fought so hard to keep you from taking this position?
Oh, yeah. What's your message to Democrats who fought so hard to keep you from taking that post? Man, if the Democrats didn't show their hand. Remember when you used to think Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren were fighting for the people? No, they're fighting for Big Pharma. And Big Pharma doesn't give a shit about you.
Congratulations, by the way.
President Trump has promised to be the president for all Americans, and he has said to me that he understands that there's no such thing as Republican children or Democratic children. All of our children need to be protected, and whether you're in a blue state or red state, I'm going to do everything I can to work with you, whether you're Democrat or Republican, to restore child's health in this country.
Mr. Secretary.
Great job. Great job. Thank you all very much.
Got the last question in. Good job. I feel like I might have ran into this person, Cara Castronova, at the J6 thing, the DC Gulag on inauguration weekend. I think she was there. I don't know her, though. All right. This is from the Kind Joe. Here's Dr. Paul, Rand Paul, discussing Democrats declining to defend USAID spending at the hearing.
Thank you. The accusation or criticism has been made that this is an unserious hearing full of conspiracy theorists. Well, you know, the Democrats were asked to participate like they always are, the same way we were when we were in the minority. They could have brought a witness. They chose not to even bring a witness. I can't conjecture as to why, but maybe it's because it's so embarrassing, the stuff that USAID is spending their money on. Who could possibly be against ending $2 million for sex change surgeries in Guatemala? I mean, who wants to defend that? I haven't heard anybody yet defend the waste and malfeasance that's going over there. $3 million for girl-centric climate change. maybe there's not a witness here. Maybe it's not serious. But I don't hear anybody explaining why we should continue to do that. Now, there is a legal question. There is a legal question. If there's $40 billion in USAID and they don't spend it at all and it just sits there, can the president impound it? This is a real question, and it may come to that. But I don't think any court is going to find that the executive branch cannot pause and audit spending. I mean, to crassly say and just to jump this, it's illegal, it's unlawful, it's a tragedy, it's constitutional chaos. Well, thank you.
Well, the accusation quickly, but yeah, like they're just jumping to all these hyperbolic things instead of addressing the elephant in the room, which is all of this rampant spending has got to stop. Here's Charlie Kirk talking about Big Pharma trying to keep RFK Jr. out, but guess what didn't work?
And there was an external pressure campaign by Big Pharma, by Pfizer, AstraZeneca, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, Eli Lilly. Oh, no, don't give Bobby Kennedy anything important. Put him on some board. Put him on some commission. But to President Trump's enormous credit, President Trump, I don't think, has received the credit that he deserves here. He tuned all of that out and said, wait a second. I ran on a set of promises. I ran on this idea of making America healthy again. Bobby was very good to us and good to our campaign. We're going to go for it. We're going to go for the entire program. There was so much pressure for him not to put Bobby Kennedy to HHS. Oh, he can't be confirmed. Oh, he can't get through a hearing. He's anti-vaccine. So many people would tell me this is the only cabinet official I care about. Please, please put Bobby Kennedy in. And when you have kids, you know that they're constantly being poisoned by red dye 42 and blue this and President Trump listened.
By the way, how about natural flavors? Do you know what natural flavors are? They should never have been allowed to label whatever natural flavors are as natural flavors. What is that natural flavor? You need to list that shit. I just want to be able to walk into a store and know that the products on the shelves aren't poison. I understand there's something that has too much sugar in it that's not good. I get that. But I don't think we fully understand just how toxic seed oils are. Natural flavors, they're not natural. And they are chemical compounds. There should be an easy way to shop without having to dodge the bullets like you're in the Matrix of all these ingredients. You can't memorize them all. You don't know what's the worst for you. It's like I'm at the point I'd rather just pop a pill and go, oh, here's lunch, here's breakfast, here's dinner. At least I know it's healthy. Even at Trader Joe's, everything, half the stuff there is seed oil. You got to watch for that. How many products there? I'm like, oh, I feel good. Oh, I like this. It's pretty good. Ah, shit. You read the ingredients, it says natural flavors. They're not natural. They're very, 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 very bad.
To his gut, and he muted all of the nonsense from the big pharma companies and trusted his political instincts. What started on August 23rd, which really was, by the way, a development of a reckoning for the lockdowns, a development of the reckoning for Anthony Fauci, has now been completed in a triumph today. And all of you should rejoice and say, thank you, God, with delight.
God, Heavenly Father, Supreme Architect of the universe, Spirit, Power, Source, thank God for putting Bobby Kennedy in. Let's go get Fauci and hold him accountable for what he did during AIDS, what he did to those beagles, what he did to my family, what he did to all of you, what he did to society. Blanket pardon or not, let's find the way to hold Fauci accountable. I think he might be the worst human that's ever lived on this planet. The worst. We can unpack that a little bit more later.
Because it just keeps getting better. As of this time right now, high noon on the East Coast, Bobby Kennedy is the Secretary of Health and Human Services.
Oh, yeah.
He's in charge of the largest branch of the federal government by budgetary measure. He has the biggest budget at his disposal. And it is now a day of reckoning for the food companies that are poisoning our kids, for the pharma companies that have been lying to us.
Poisoning not our kids, poisoning us, poisoning our pets.
And he is now the Secretary of Health and Human Services. President Trump deserves the credit. And now Bobby Kennedy has the baton to make America healthy again, to make our kids healthy again. Praise the Lord.
Amen. God, am I happy about this. Alan, what's up? Thanks for joining us. He said he was a little late. I'm like, bro, I had to be at a government building for hours today. I'm a little late as well. Sometimes things get in the way. It's fine. Alan says Bobby is a great improvement to the to whatever that thing was. I think that was the assistant to the assistant health and human services director, whatever that person was. Frankie, what's up? Welcome to the show. Frankie loves RFK Jr. Oh my God. What was the here? Let me actually. I don't use Google anymore. I'm just going to use Grok. Going to use Grok for my searches. RFK Jr. book on Fauci. Is it just called The Real Dr. Fauci? The Real Anthony Fauci? RFK Jr. literally wrote the book on Anthony Fauci. The Real Anthony Fauci, Bill Gates, Big Pharma, and the Global War on Democracy and Public Health, published in 2021, criticizes Dr. Anthony Fauci's leadership of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, NIAID. It accuses Fauci of mismanaging public health crises, including the HIV/AIDS epidemic and COVID-19, and promoting unproven treatments like hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin, while alleging conflicts of interest with pharmaceutical companies. The book has been controversial, with critics, including scientists and fact-checkers, labeling it as promoting misinformation, particularly on the V's and the HIV/AIDS and HIV/AIDS. Fauci has called the book unfortunate and described Kennedy as a very disturbed individual. Despite this, it has become a bestseller, over 1 million copies. If you're looking to read it, the book is available. Its claims have been widely disputed by experts, so consider reviewing fact-checking sources alongside it. Yeah, he literally wrote the book on Fauci. There was a doctor under Germany in the 1900s who did some unnatural things. Mengele. Yeah, Fauci-la. Oh, Fauci. Oh. I'm dreaming of Fauci's indictments, just like the one he always should have had. Here's my buddy AJ. I got to book Anomaly back on the program. I was talking to him a month or two ago, like we just couldn't find the right time. I'll reach. I gotta talk. I gotta have AJ. I've never had him on the show. I've interviewed him in person like 3 or 4 times. Like we've hung out at events and we filmed segments for him. He filmed segments for us. At the NAMM convention for music in Anaheim, the Conscious Life Expo, Politicon. Like AJ's all right. I like AJ. And that's his post over here. I'll get to that in a second. Let's say what Robin was saying. Robin McBride says we've been lied to for so long by what should be many who should be important in our lives. Then at some point, we'll be expected to just now believe them. What will it take? Yeah, we've been lied to so long. How could we possibly trust these people ever again? They've completely lost all credibility. All credibility. And look, I sat down with AJ last time we did a sit down. It was during that primary season when little Ronnie D, as I call him, Ron DeSantis in Florida, was trying to, I don't know, throw some shade at Trump and like, I don't know what it means to be indicted by a porn star or to be accused by a porn star, but I'm running for president. It's like, bro, sit down, read the room. Read the room. Trump is getting his payback. This is Trump's term. You want to come at and try to go for president, you do it after this term. Don't you dare. I think AJ was a little bit more open to DeSantis than I was. But in an interview, you don't push back too hard sometimes. Part of it's just let them say what they have to say. You say your piece, but, you know. In fact, when I interviewed Ashley Babbitt's mother, you know, I had a couple questions lined up, a couple things I wanted to ask, but, you know, you never know what could kind of set somebody off. And I held back a couple questions. What I wanted to ask, like, all right, to the people who say she got what she deserved, she was trying to climb through a window where Congress was. What do you expect? That's a fair question to ask. It's not malicious. It's just like, what do you say to those people? But the way that I was prepped into getting the interview with her outside of the DC Gulag the day after the inauguration when the J6 prisoners were released, I just said, this probably isn't the right time. And I don't want to cut the chat short. You know. Anyway, Anomaly here says, as the head of HHS, RFK Jr. now oversees the FDA, the CDC, and HHS. Trump didn't give him a small role. He gave him the biggest position available. AJ continues. Oh, I'm sorry. Augustina continues. HHS has a bigger annual budget than defense, education, and agriculture combined. Most of it is Medicare and Medicaid. This will be a sea change that lasts for generations. Joy Usack says, prayers answered, his and ours. I'm going to say we are on the best timeline. Because I think we are. Yeah, give him a huge role. Oh, there was another post by Anomaly. I'm not sure. I have it in the stack here. We'll see if it comes up. This is from That Kind Joe. Here is our press secretary.
Doe, just for a second. Earlier, the subcommittee headed by Chairman Marjorie Taylor Greene, her and her staff discovered $2.7 trillion in improper payments to Medicare, Medicaid, overseas, to people who should not have gotten it. Some of this room might have missed that press conference. Can you elaborate on what the president is thinking at this point?
Well, again, that's another example. There's a very long list of the fraud, waste, and abuse that DOGE is identifying on a daily basis. Elon Musk also talked about yesterday about Social Security payments that are going out the door for people who are no longer with us. Unfortunately, I would say that is certainly fraud. There's also a lot of contracts they've identified that, just as a hypothetical example, are $1 million, but only 500,000 went out the door. So where's the rest of that cash?
Yeah.
And so that's the thing. Those are the things that DOGE is working on every single day. And I would just remind everybody in this room, this is what President Trump campaigned on doing. He's delivering.
Back to DOGE just for a second.
These clips that cut off. He is delivering. He is delivering. And these slush funds holding this money. Where's this money? Where's the money at? Where's the money, Lebowski?
USAID,
This is GLKCS again.
USAID has been an unapologetic front for a far-left agenda. It has become self-evident there weren't a handful of foolish policies, but rather a coordinated strategy of radical, idiotic, and often anti-American priorities. Idiotic, you say.
Anti-American priorities, because the deep state hates America. The Democrats hate America. The Democrats are the deep state, and there are rhinos that have sold our country out along with it. Liz Cheney, Adam Kinzinger, Mitt Romney, John McCain, Lindsey Graham, Mitch McConnell. There's a long list of rhinos who don't deserve to have the title Republican. Now, I know that Republicans are pretty bad. MAGA is the party that I voted for. MAGA is the party that you voted for. MAGA had to infiltrate and change the Republican Party. The Democrats are doubling down on stupid in the meantime.
Say millions to teach Moroccans how to make pottery. The Moroccans were making pottery before we were a country. This entire debate today and the crocodile tears from Democrats just goes to show what's wrong with this town. Not a single Democrat I've heard has expressed dismay at the many examples of crazy, wasteful spending. I don't understand the objection to a deep dive in how we spend our money, but perhaps it's the fact that over the last several weeks, a massive surge has occurred in the search for a criminal defense attorney. That probably says it all. 5 times in this city, any other city in the nation. I'd like to remind the committee that President Kennedy unilaterally created USAID through an executive order in 1961. Yet the President Trump, orders a momentary pause after winning a mandate for reform, and Democrats cry, constitutional crisis. As long as you're spending other people's money, no one bats an eye.
Yeah.
But the second you want to save taxpayer dollars, the swamp cries wolf, or in this case, unprecedented constitutional crisis. This breathless, fake outrage from the left is utterly insane. And you know what the American people, you know they can see right through it. The generosity of Americans and the blessing of giving aid to others has always been one of our most valuable tools for diplomacy. The American people have a proud history of championing aid to our fellow man, but lawless bureaucrats have poisoned that goodwill. Many USAID programs are wasteful and actively sabotage our diplomatic relationships by forcing woke ideology on our partners. Just look at PEPFAR, a beacon of hope in the fight against HIV/AIDS, yet the Biden administration even weaponized this crucial program, jeopardizing lives and undermining our relationship with African nations. Under Administrator Powers, our message to Africa was explicit, as it was heinous. Abort your babies and violate your religious convictions, or we won't grant you life-saving aid. Let me be crystal clear to those who've been complicit in this betrayal. Firing those involved is just a start. We have a long way to go. And one last point. I want to correct the record on a couple of things. First, Elon Musk and the team that is working does not have access to personal data. They don't have access to your Social Security. Aid USAID.
I think it restarted. Elon Musk, by the way, and I think we're going to get to this, but it says right here at the bottom, Elon Musk says, I've had a top secret clearance for many years and have had clearances that themselves are classified. That said, far too much information is made classified. If something is easily found online or patently obvious, it should not be classified. This impedes effective communication within the government. Yeah, he's had this classification for a long time, by the way. It's ridiculous, whatever the Dems are shrieking. Kelly Jane Torrance is saying the EPA head has revealed no real oversight on a shocking $20 billion Biden administration funneled through Citibank. It's the tip of the iceberg. $20 billion Biden administration green energy slush fund was collecting interest at a private bank and being distributed without proper oversight. Keep an eye on that story. Let's unpack that a little bit, shall we? Robin Atkins says we've never before experienced a nationwide cult going through the process of being deprogrammed. We are going to see a lot of mental health we are going to see a lot of mental health issues escalate. Next one. Those who have been told for 4 years their worth lies in who affirms their dysphoria and addiction to maladaptive behaviors as an identity are facing a return to reality. This part is very, very crucial here. The Democrats, led by Obama and his puppet Biden, they have really worked to try to tell people that they're fine as they are. But their version of fine as they are isn't to just say, hey, it's okay how you're born. Their version of fine as you are is, yeah, you should be chopping body parts off and taking all these hormone cocktails instead of trying to say, hey, you're okay. You're born how you are. You're fine as you are. You can be who you are, dress how you dress, and love who you love. Just if your chromosomes include a Y in sports, you must compete with guys. And use the restroom of your sex. I would not have a problem with a dude walking in a dress and taking a piss, but I do have a problem with a dude walking into a restroom with little kids, with little girls. No guys in the girls' bathroom. Now, I have used ladies' bathrooms before, because when there's a bathroom and it's a one-person bathroom and someone's and the door's open and it's nobody's in there, yeah, I'm going to use that. That's just a unisex bathroom waiting for someone to use it. But yeah, those people who have been told for 4 years their worth lies in who affirms their dysphoria and their addiction to maladaptive behaviors as an identity are facing a return to reality. In addition, the mental health providers who have spent 4 years affirming delusions and dysphoria aren't equipped themselves to manage the return to reality, more or less equipped to help patients. They are centering themselves as the victims when they were part of the problem. We are not, as a nation, prepared for the level of actions taken in desperation we will see as people cling to a cult that is no longer being propped up by a government or a medical system. Very smart people fell into the lie that kindness means affirming someone is born in the wrong body, that they were born inherently flawed even as they were physically healthy. They will be the last to let it go, because to be wrong is so antithetical to their life experiences. But stay the course, speak truth boldly, refuse to be emotionally manipulated, retain your agency. Refuse to take accountability for another person's actions, words, or emotions. Set boundaries that require they maintain their own agency. Identify safe resources for those hurting. There are a lot of people hurting. In the Diagnostic Statistical Manual, the DSM-5, I mean, it clearly describes gender dysphoria. It's a mental condition. These people deserve empathy and sympathy and kindness and compassion and help and treatment. You're okay how you were born. I'm sorry that people have been telling you need to switch. It's as bad as a husband telling his wife she's worthless unless she gets a breast implant. A pair of breast implants, I suppose. That'd be a little uneven if you just got one. I'm still just trying to understand why Barack Obama was pushing this stuff for so hard for so long, and all of his cronies. And you look at Barack Obama and Chuck Schumer and Emmanuel Macron, and you just wonder why. Why were they pushing this so hard? I don't know. This one is from Mindset of Resistance. Trump administration revealing that the Pentagon gave $9 million to Reuters for a program called Large Scale Social Deception. It is almost impossible to believe that this program was to provide large scale social deception. I would imagine their reaction is going to say it was to combat large scale social deception. But when we've looked at so many people who have been lying for so long about so many things, why wouldn't they just label it what it is? I say at this point, you're sort of guilty unless proven innocent. But there has to be a plausible explanation other than this being legitimate, right? Carl Higbee saying, so Doge has saved us $88 billion in less than a month, while Congressional Doge Committee has held one hearing. Talk versus action. This is why people hate politicians.
Please.
From Mindset of Potential again, Democrats saying the quiet part out loud.
Correct me if this is incorrect. You want non-citizens to be counted in terms of determining the representation for elected officials here at the Capitol, and by extension, I assume the U.S. Capitol as well. Is that incorrect?
Mr. Chair, I mean, it is absolutely correct.
Let the record reflect then that you just said it was correct that you want non-citizens to be counted for representation.
Mr. Chair, that is in fact the current interpretation of that clause in the
No, it's not.
Constitution that talks about counting the people in the United States.
No, it's about counting the people that are citizens in the United States. You've got to be out of your mind to think you can flood this country full of non-Americans and that they should get voting rights and you should get extra congressional representation for people that don't live here and have no skin in the game. You've got to be out of your mind to be pushing that stuff. No, that is not an accepted analysis of the interpretation of our founding documents.
That is the job of the U.S. Census.
I do appreciate an honest Democrat because you're saying the quiet part out loud.
And Mr. Chair,
that point?
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. So yeah, Article 1, Section 2 of the U.S. Constitution gives U.S. Congress the responsibility to conduct the census. The scope is defined as census counts every resident.
You're not a resident if you're here illegally.
In the United States. Do you believe that undocumented people are residents?
I believe that undocumented people right now are being deported in mass numbers because they aren't legally supposed to be here. And so, no, I do not believe that our founders intended for non-citizens, who we've had 10 to 20 million over the last 4 years,
Call it 30.
enter illegally into this nation at the hands of the Biden regime,
The third Obama regime.
the Democrats.
Here we go. So
I do
they're-
not
they're-
believe that they should be counted in terms of determining representation here at the Arizona legislature, or in any state legislature for that matter, or for the U.S. Congress and the. I don't believe that's accurate. Please correct.
By the way, tell me where a homeowners association will let somebody vote if they don't own a piece of property there. You have to be in the group to get a vote. These people are not here legally. They are not in the group. They don't get a vote.
Elon Musk does have a security clearance. He has.
By the way, I think this is the same clip I was playing a minute ago, but yeah, Audie Murphy. No, that's a different one. Yeah, I thought this was the clip I was playing a second ago. I didn't remember this part being included.
The top secret security clearance by God, he makes the rockets for NASA. But the suggestion that he somehow can't be trusted to dig into how we're spending our money is nothing but a smokescreen to hide the corruption and the wasteful spending that has occurred there. And I am personally offended at the left's continued references to 19-year-olds and 21-year-olds in there doing work. There are 19-year-olds who have won the Medal of Honor defending this country. Just because you're 19 doesn't mean you're some child who can't be trusted. It is offensive. And if you're 19 years old out there, 20 years old, and you're serving this country, by God, your service matters. Keep serving. We thank you for that.
Thank you. Now that's the energy we needed.
As many.
Alan is saying the one thing Bobby Kennedy Jr. about him, he has a way with words. Have you ever heard the story of Bobby and Trump? Bobby getting a ride on Trump's jet to Florida. He said he had a great time, even though he sued Trump. Yeah, I mean, it pays to build relationships. It really does. All right, what's a theory? Oh, theory. Sorry. I have a theory. Has anyone noticed that gold prices are going up and the gold from London is drained heading to the U.S.? The Federal Reserve being audited. Could this mean that there's no gold in Fort Knox? Yeah, I've known that for a while. They're tungsten coated bars. You got like a brass or pyrite or some sort of combination, or maybe even a light gold layer on top. But they're allegedly tungsten bars if you cut them open. Oh, the pirates have been having a field day looting this country. A field day. I bet we're going to find $36 trillion in the next 6 months. All you got to do is keep digging, keep following. And when you find the people that have committed the fraud, oh, this politician's made $200,000 and spent most of that on their townhouse rent in Washington, D.C., but now they're worth $25 million, $200 million. Okay. If you find out that they've been collecting kickbacks and fraud and treason, yeah, you seize those funds. You put it in the kitty, pay off the debt. Boom, debt gone. How about throw over the money changing tables? Get rid of these people anyway. The hell why are we buying our own money at interest? Who is the Federal Reserve private banking cartel? Guys, we are just getting started on this. We're not 1% complete, and Doge is already going to town on USAID is a massive victory to defund the Democrats. Wait till you get to the Pentagon, to Medicare, all the fraud and corruption. So yeah, I've definitely heard that Fort Knox has been emptied. And if all you got to do is go back to the Anunnaki theory, that there were beings from the heavens descending from the sky in chariots of fire, like every major civilization on every major continent has written similar stories. They say different things in the details, but they're extraterrestrials. And the Anunnaki in South Africa, the cradle of civilization, where ancient Mesopotamia, or, you know, you could say it's more Middle East or more South Africa, probably South Africa. There's missing links, and you can't find the missing link between Cro-Magnon man and modern man because it was genetically modified. The theory is that the Anunnaki needed gold in their atmosphere and in their system so that they could live to be 1 million years old, like Methuselah and some of these other characters from the Bible, for example. And that they took the monkey, the Cro-Magnon that was inhabiting Africa, and they spliced some genetic stuff together with them so that they could be smart enough to operate machinery, but dumb enough so that they don't ask questions. They needed people to go down deep into the mine shafts and do the dangerous work of retrieving all the gold. And all that gold has been harvested. Federal Reserve. Here, we'll give you this worthless piece of paper because we are your kings. Who the hell says you're my king? No, you're not my king. Hell no, you're not my king. Yeah. Just give us the gold. Remember they confiscated gold in this country back in the day? Yeah, we need all the gold. We got to cash in. Our bookie showed up. I got to pay him. Maybe that's why everything's been so backward here. It's because we have been working as debt slaves. And this is just one big mine. So we can deliver our real masters more gold. More gold. Question of the day, what movie is that from? Yeah, it's time to audit Fort Knox, Federal Reserve. Time to abolish the Federal Reserve. We can print our own damn money. We don't need to pay interest. And I want a national mortgage program where we can take out mortgages. American citizens can take out a mortgage and maybe pay 1% interest so that you can cover administrative costs. There probably is a little bit of administrative cost involved, but it should be 1% capped, 6%. Get out of here. You're paying more than double the amount of your home just because you're paying so much on interest. And that principal would go down to nothing real fast if you were actually making all of that, those payments, if all that money went to your principal. Imagine how the economy would be freed up. And these worthless, know-nothing, do-nothing leeches known as bankers can wither and shrivel on the vine. Ugh. Blah. Patooey, I say. Patooey. I said good day, sir. I said good day. Laura Ingraham here, talking about HHS Secretary RFK. We're talking to him.
As 50% of the employees of HHS will be cut in the restructuring of government that DOJ is helping President Trump carry out. And people are wringing their hands. Your response to that?
I don't know anything about 50% of people being cut. There's 90,000 employees. I would be surprised if there were 50% cuts.
How much do you think you might cut?
Well, I mean, I think the lower level employees at HHS, most of them are public spirited, good public servants, good American patriots, and hardworking people. What I'm interested in are moving away the people who have made really bad decisions. For example, on the nutrition guidelines, people who have, there's people at NIH that were involved in the amyloid plaque scandals that derailed Alzheimer's treatment for 20 years. It's all corruption. Those kind of people.
There's corruption. And then there's also stupidity. I think part of what you need to figure out is that wherever you are in the medical field, there is current science as it's temporarily known to be. And then there's no such thing as settled science. That's the part that people screw up. Like this amyloid plaque situation that he was talking about. You can definitely think you have something figured out while continuing to do research in case you're wrong. Just instantly, ivermectin doesn't work, ban it. Bullshit. Especially since it has almost no legitimate side effects that It's a Nobel Award winning drug that has had billions of doses served. You don't ban stuff. You don't ban doctors from treating things. You let people figure things out. You can offer a recommendation of best practices, but to force people into stuff, it's beyond wrong. It's devilish. So yeah, it was settled science that the universe revolves around the earth until it wasn't. The earth was flat until it wasn't. You don't need to ban people saying the earth is flat today. Let them try to do some research. I don't want to be funding it, but if they can find some dollars here and there, fine, they can fund it and keep going. What if they prove it wrong one day? What if they just prove we're in a simulation? We're not in a solar system at all. We're just a computer simulation. It's like we're playing Legend of Zelda or The Sims. It's not real life. You don't ban science. There is no such thing as settled science. And that amyloid plaque situation was exactly what you're talking about. You don't ban it. You let people continue working on stuff because you never know. You're never 100% certain. And almost everybody that tells you they're 100% certain is full of shit.
Will need to be moved.
Do you have a list of people that you already know need to be removed and quickly?
I have a list in my head, and we have a generic list of the kind of people that, if you've been involved in good science, you got nothing to worry about. If you care about public health, you got nothing to worry about. If you're in there working for the pharmaceutical industry, then I'd say you should move out and work for the pharmaceutical industry.
Well, why not? Just make it official. As many as 50% of the...
There you go. Why not? Just make it official. Yeah, live action here from Catholic Truth Official. They have a thought here saying if there was a group killing 900 puppies daily, then selling their arms and legs for profit, all while their facilities were subsidized by taxpayers, there'd be nonstop news coverage. Planned Parenthood carries out these atrocities with human children, and the news is silent. This is too gross for me to even think about. I don't even want to. I already did, so National Institutes of Health, according to this Doge official report, says that NIH spent $1.5 million on a study of waste and cruelty, locking cats into these machines with head restraints and leg motors, and using electroshock torture on young kittens for hours on end to the point where they would throw up, they'd vomit. Since 2019, medieval experiments. University of Pittsburgh. I mean, makes me ill. So let's continue looking into that story. Can we confirm or deny this? Because it has my blood boiling. Here's a lie from, and yet another lie from Rachel Madcow.
Elon Musk has apparently somehow convinced the United States government, specifically the United States Department of State, that the taxpayers of the United States of America should spend $400 million buying, quote, armored Tesla production units. Isn't it great and definitely not at all illegal or profoundly corrupt? Definitely not ripping us all off to pay themselves, right?
Donald Trump didn't give that contract to Elon Musk. Joe Biden gave it to him.
Elon Musk has apparently somehow convinced the United States government.
Yeah. So we got a lawsuit incoming. That seems intentionally wrong, like they like to do. Gentry Geaver is saying the government borrows money from the Fed and then uses the American taxpayer as the cosigner and then uses the IRS as a collection agency for the debt we are being stolen from. And more calls to abolish the IRS and the Federal Reserve. This whole system of us being debt slaves. It's it might be time. This might be the time that we have to change things. John James says, all President Trump is asking Mexico and Canada to do is to enforce the borders. All he's asking Colombia and Central and South American countries to do is to take back their own criminals. All he's asking Europe to do is to pay full price for its own defense and pharmaceuticals. Our friends have been spoiled for so long that fairness feels like betrayal to them. America needs strong allies and partners. We will continue to be the greatest ally in the world to our friends, but they must stand on their own 2 feet and not expect to be carried by the American taxpayer any longer. Bravo. By the way, however you're watching, please hit like, please hit subscribe. This is from Barron Trump News. I don't know if this is a Barron Trump quote, but I like the sentiment here. Everyone who knows me sees me as a realist, some even as a pessimist. With that in mind, you'll understand the weight of what I'm about to say. I believe we're on the brink of uncovering a dark legacy in this country that's been hidden for far too long. If you're struggling to grasp how your ex-government could do such things, my advice is to either brace yourself or go hide until someone saves you. I truly think the dam is breaking, and regardless of how it unfolds, real change is coming. Those at the federal and state levels should be preparing to lose sleep. It's about to go mainstream. Like I said, not entirely certain that that's Barron Trump, but I like the sentiment regardless. Here's Tom Homan from Uprising Voice saying that he's working with the Department of Justice to determine whether legal action is necessary against AOC for teaching illegal immigrants how to avoid apprehension. You can say illegal aliens. That's the term. Did you catch J.D. Vance out on the world stage? This from Truth Politica. There's a couple of quotes, some good ones here. He's out. Let's read what he says. J.D. Vance is crushing his appearance at the Munich Security Conference. He covered several topics, including immigration, absolutely hitting the nail on the head for every single point. European leaders may not like what J.D. Vance has to say, but they need to hear it and take heart. The page is turned into a new chapter, and they'd be wise to put their own citizens first and play fair with America. Here's J.D. Vance.
Expressing opinions isn't election interference. Even when people express views outside your own country, and even when those people are very influential. And trust me, I say this with all humor, if American democracy can survive 10 years of Greta Thunberg scolding, you guys can survive a few months of Elon Musk. But what no democracy, American, German, or European, will survive is telling millions of voters that their thoughts and concerns, their aspirations, their pleas for relief are invalid or unworthy of even being considered. And expressing opinions isn't election interference.
There you go. That was the beginning. Expressing opinions is not election interference. Here is Attorney General Pam Bondi digging into the Epstein files. I mean, it's about to happen.
Oh, we know he was on the plane, not only on the plane a couple times, multiple times. He traveled internationally with Jeffrey Epstein, and he was on the plane called the Lolita Express because it supposedly had a bed in there where Jeffrey Epstein had young girls. He has been a friend of his, a continuing friend of his for years and years. Contrast that with Donald Trump, who hasn't spoken to him in many years, over a decade, after he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago for bad behavior. So that's the difference there. And I think Americans see the two-tier justice system. But, you know, we don't know. They're saying Clinton has not been to his private island, but he has traveled all over the world with Jeffrey Epstein. I want to know.
There you go. Also breaking, Daily Caller saying that Trump has signed an executive order that stops federal funds that go to schools who mandate the COVID vaccine. And Thomas Massey agrees, saying that is an excellent move. That's being reported by Daily Caller, shared from Anomaly. Breaking news from Anomaly. All right, next topic. I think we did already share this one with Mr. Schellenberger. Has anyone else noticed that President Trump's team are constantly keeping us informed on what they're doing? It's almost like they know they work for us. Isn't that wild? How refreshing. So Benny Johnson here says that Trump wins the presidency. Democrats say, he's illegitimate, a Russian who stole the election. Launch a special counsel. Impeach him again. Lock up his peaceful supporters. Arrest him, raid him, shoot him, kill him. So Trump wins the presidency again. Because we don't like the Democrats. We don't believe them. We don't trust them. They can go away forever. Yeah. Look at the difference in press coverage, says Representative Congresswoman Beth Van DeWine. Look at the difference in press coverage. You can't hate the legacy media enough. ABC News comparing President Biden to President Trump. ABC News says about Biden, well, Biden announces new China tariffs on electric vehicles, solar chips, and more. The administration argues the action won't affect inflation or costs. There's your Democrat talking points. But now ABC News says Trump's tariffs threaten job losses. Experts say these may be the hardest hit. Trump has proposed 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico and 10% tariffs on China. So Chinese tariffs good when it's Biden. Chinese tariffs bad if it's President Trump. Here is Mr. Kennedy, the other Mr. Kennedy.
Same people who are screaming at Trump for auditing federal spending were the same people under President Biden who wanted to hire 80,000 new IRS agents with guns to audit the American people. I find that breathtakingly hypocritical. The same people who are screaming at Trump.
There you go. Pure hypocrisy. John Frankman saying, just spoke to an unvaxxed enlisted yeah, this part. Just spoke with an unvaxxed enlisted Navy submariner about his experience at the Department of Defense. Why is this not working? Okay, getting back on I don't know. This thing stopped working. Got to reboot it. Okay. Just spoke to an unvaxxed enlisted Navy submariner about his experience with the DoD vax mandate. Before the mandate went into effect in early 2021, his sub went on a 7-month tour. The crew were told they needed to get the shot or they'd get kicked out. A couple months into deployment, the unvaxxed were forced to wear a mask while the vaxxed didn't have to. For all but the first shore stop, the unvaxxed had to stay on the submarine while vaxxed sailors were given liberty in town. Leadership divided these individuals from their peers by telling the vaxxed soldiers their liberty would have been greater if it weren't for the unvaccinated. You see what they did? One SNCO told his unvaxxed sailor, "It's people like you and your parents who, after the bubonic plague was eradicated, would continue to spread the disease because you are so selfish you wouldn't get a vaccine, so keep infecting people." Being unvaccinated cost him evaluations and promotion opportunities, and now he is many years behind his timeline. There must be accountability for leaders who push this unlawful order and comprehensive reparation for service members negatively impacted for it. Yeah, I also want reparations for the censorship campaigns levied against the New American Media and myself personally to thwart my business opportunities running my media company. I want that too. Kenneth. What's up, Kenneth? Bump, bump, bump. Kenneth in the house. How's she doing? I couldn't figure out how to say her name. Does anyone know who's she doing? I don't know how to say her name. If someone can help me. All right, next story. Ms. Muckraker. Oh, this is from, Muckraking Media. Border czar Tom Homan once again saying he's working with the DOJ to determine whether legal action is necessary against AOC for teaching illegal alien invaders to avoid apprehension. Office of Squad Member AOC hosted a live webinar on Wednesday advising migrants in her district about their rights if they come face-to-face with Immigration and Customs Enforcement ICE agents looking to deport them. The Know Your Rights with ICE virtual event was broadcast live on AOC's Facebook page, where migrant viewers were informed of how to deal with ICE search requests if officers come calling to their homes or place of work. She's aiding and abetting the enemy. Wait, you mean migrants are the enemy? Yeah, they're the enemy if they didn't do it the right way. Absolutely. You don't break into my home and expect to be a friend. No. If you walk through the front door, you knock at the door and you say, hey, I'd like to share with you some information. Here's who I am. Here's where I'm coming from. Maybe I could come inside for a few minutes, explain some stuff to you. If I invite you in, that's one thing. If you break into my house, I got a plan. It's not going to be good for you, but I have a plan.
This meeting go? Why was it?
Here you go, Tom Homan.
Necessary.
Good. I think that, and Tom can speak.
And this is Eric Adams, mayor of New York.
For himself, I think he had a real level of frustration, and he was trying to figure out, hey, what's going on, Eric? What is happening? And we were able to get in the room and really articulate what are my powers, what are my authorities, and what are some of the things that we need to legislatively address that is preventing us from doing what we want to do, and that is getting dangerous people off our streets.
This meeting go? Why was it necessary?
Good.
Yeah, get the dangerous people off your street. Happy Valentine's Day. You're my national treasure. Pentagon is preparing potential cuts for Elon Musk's Doge. Oh, so they're trying to get cuts ready. Coming from Miss Muckraker, per Wall Street Journal reporting. Eric Daughtry reporting here. This is a conversation on CNN. San Francisco city attorney saying this is why so many cities adopted sanctuary policies. Studies show that immigrants commit less crime. It makes us safer. What? They are still pushing this drivel? These lies? All right, here we go. Oakland is a sanctuary city. Violent crime. In 2022, Oakland had a violent crime rate of 1521 per 100,000 people, which is among the highest in the country, including crimes like murder, rape, robbery, and aggravated assault. The chance of being a victim of violent crime was 1 in 66. Oh my God. Property crime. Property crime in Oakland, and I've been to Jokeland. I call it Jokeland. They've lost all 3 of their sports teams. The Warriors left for, where are they at? Santa Clara? Well, Santa Clara is where the 49ers ended up. The Warriors went into San Francisco, and the Raiders went to Las Vegas. So yeah, Jokeland is not a model for anything anywhere. That's the only place where an In-N-Out Burger's ever been shut down. They don't leave once they're there, but the crime was so bad they had to shut the doors and said, we can't do this. So you guys are insane. Why aren't you arresting these bad guys? What the hell's your problem? Property crime in Oakland was also very high. 6475 per 100,000 people, including burglaries, larceny, motor vehicle thefts. The odds of falling victim to property crime were 1 in 16. God, indicating significant issue with property crimes in the city. Homicides in the same year, Oakland saw an increase with 121, which was 19 more than in 2020. Motor vehicle theft, one of the highest rates of motor vehicle theft, with 7,697 vehicles stolen. That's a rate of roughly 1797 per 100,000 people. And while exact figures for 25 are not available, reports from late 24 suggested a significant decline in homicides by 33% compared to the previous year. However, crime trends can fluctuate, and some categories of crime, like residential robberies, have seen increases. The Veterans Affairs Office has just fired 1,000 employees. This will enable the VA to redirect over $98 million annually to healthcare benefits and services for veterans. Take a look at this. Brillin Hollyhan says Trump has his mugshot hanging outside the Oval Office in a golden frame. Right there. See it? So when you open the door, you see his mugshot right there when you walk in and out. There's Trump dancing. Here's an interesting report from Business Insider. Rich musicians have pocketed millions of COVID.
Government spent $14.5 billion to support the entertainment industry during COVID, but some of the biggest names in music sent that money mostly to their own pockets.
So Chris Brown, he got $10 million. That's the maximum allowable grant. Out of that $10 million, he paid himself $5.1 million. And then he spent another $80,000 on a 33rd birthday party for himself. All of it paid for by taxpayers.
Marshmallow. Christopher Comstock is his legal name. Like, Christopher Comstock paid himself $9.9 million.
Steve Aoki, who is a famous DJ, but fun fact, his dad founded Benihana, took $1.9 million just for himself.
Members of Shinedown were taking home hundreds of thousands of dollars apiece.
A single member of the band Shinedown got more than all of their touring employees.
Alice in Chains got, I think, somewhere north of $6 million, and more than $3 million of that went into these band members' pockets. We found one guy who had worked with Alice in Chains for a long time. Scotty Doc is what people called him. During the pandemic, he was diagnosed with cancer, and AIC Entertainment's budget shows that it didn't spend a dime on health insurance.
It's not really clear how much help Alice in Chains gave to him. They're not listed as contributors to his GoFundMe, and somebody familiar with the situation told us that they referred him to a charity to help with his medical bills. But 2 weeks after posting the GoFundMe, he had died.
The sad reality is that for a lot of middle-class people in the music industry, they didn't have options. And even though all this money was flooding into these companies, it wasn't necessarily trickling down.
To read the full story, find it on businessinsider.com.
That's something that really bugs me right there. I hadn't heard any of that stuff before, but I'm going to be digging into it now. Keep it on your radar.
In 2021,
here's Representative Anna Paulina Luna talking about the U.S. State Department, USAID, and how they destabilize other nations on We Are Breitbart.
the Special Operations Command under Mark Milley, as chairman of the Joint Chiefs, put out an instruction manual, a vision for 2021 and beyond, that contained instructions and examples on how the military could work with the State Department, Intel Services, and USAID using race riots. Here's examples of some of the instruction manuals here, 1 and 2, in order to destabilize nations. In addition to that, they advocated for setting up job fairs near some of these riots so that disaffected workers could gain employment. Now, as a member of Congress,
remember in the 2020 Summer of Love where Maxine Waters and Nancy Pelosi, I can't believe they're not having riots all across the country. And Kamala Harris started working with the Minnesota Freedom Fund to bail out the violent rioters and looters that were destroying the nation, trying to make Trump look bad for some reason. Remember that? You need to get in their faces in the grocery stores, at the gasoline station. Remember that? Ayanna Pressley, all these people, domestic terrorists. Remember that?
I ask myself, did anyone in USAID get elected to Congress? How about to a presidency? When you are acting in the shadows and you are destabilizing nations using race wars to do it and then advocating that the military does it, in my opinion, not only do you put the future generations that would have to fight in those wars in jeopardy, but at the end of the day, you're operating without any oversight. So I guess the question for you guys is, Mr. Natsios, is that something that you were aware of? Are you aware that that instruction manual is being promoted not just with the military under Milley, but that USAID may be operating in this capacity? Because in my opinion, and I'm sure I speak on behalf of many of my constituents, I don't think that's where our taxpayer dollars need to be going.
Well, I completely agree with you. I doubt very much that what you've been told is accurate. But let me just tell you.
I'm telling you right now, I brought the receipts, okay? And the reason, I'm not trying to argue with you, but I find this disturbing on so many capacities. And I would like to also just, if I can, sir, Mike Benz, what he's exposing and bringing receipts, I've confirmed it. Thank you for doing that on behalf of the American people, because I understand that when you take on the intelligence agencies, we're also now finding that.
Remember when Chuck Schumer said they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you? Yeah, they threaten you, they bribe you, they abuse you. They try to destroy your life because they act like mob bosses. They're bad people. These are not people working to make America great. They're working to make themselves great. They're a criminal cartel. I don't know how we lost our way so obviously. But with Kash Patel hopefully coming in as soon as possible, at least at the FBI, we can start getting to the bottom of this and start indicting the people that have been turning the legislative system, the judicial system, the criminal justice system into an injustice system, into a perpetual weapon of the deep state to attack normal people, the Republicans, conservatives, and libertarians.
Apparently in this manual, that they're also advocating for social media campaigns illuminating controversy to a global audience. I mean, using disinformation campaigns. Is this happening here in our own country? Where's the oversight?
Just to ask you, who in the agency, what bureau?
I just said you can actually find that instruction in this manual that Milley approved.
Military manual, isn't it?
Yes, but Milley approved it. You have it right here. USAID working with government agencies. I mean, this is not.
Wait a second. Did AID say that, or did the military say?
Well, that would be the question for you, sir.
Well, I don't
mean, these
think AID
operations.
wrote that.
Sorry to interrupt you. These operations that are taking place without government oversight, without the authority of the president, without the authority of Congress. Real men and women serve and they die because of stuff like this. When you destabilize nations without any oversight, we have to fight those wars. You have our chairman right here that literally risked his life. No, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'm frustrated. I know it's not necessarily your fault.
But I'm telling you,
but
it's
as a head of agency, that's not.
I'm telling what Ben's told you is nonsense.
That's not nonsense. These are the information and forms. And Ben's put this out to the American people.
AID did not write that,
Sir, I disagree with you on so many levels, and I appreciate you being here today.
How do you know they
this
wrote?
Is not easy. How do I know what?
Any person can write AID's name into a manual. It goes on all the time.
They are advocating that the U.S. military work with taxpayer-funded State Department USAID funds to destabilize nations. That is unacceptable. I don't care who wrote it. USAID needs to come down and condemn it. They need to provide oversight to Congress on exactly where our tax dollars are going. And I know I might be at 17 seconds with our time, but sir, I hope that you agree. Can I, yes or no, do you agree that this is wrong? Period. Should this be happening? I think the military
should be held accountable. I think it's nonsense.
And should USAID condemn it?
Nonsense to suggest that AID wrote that.
Should they condemn it?
The military should.
Should USAID also condemn this?
Of course. We don't comment. AID does not comment on military manuals.
Ladies, time's
None of our
expired.
business.
None of our business. Okay. This is interesting. Indian Bronson says, what's happening in America is roughly equivalent to the yearbook committee and theater kid types getting rocked by a football team and a chess club alliance. Now, having been in a chess club and a football team, I kind of liked that one. Thought it was funny. Sent it to my buddy from the football team in high school when we'd play chess every day in study hall. But we were also on an undefeated football team. So yeah, we're jock nerds.
When I look at Europe,
here's JD Vance speaking. What is this thing called? It's the European something or other. It's the European conference where JD Vance is speaking.
Today, it's sometimes not so clear what happened to some of the Cold War's winners. I look to Brussels, where EU commissars warn citizens that they intend to shut down social media during times of civil unrest the moment they spot what they've judged to be, quote, hateful content. Or to this very country, where police have carried out raids against citizens suspected of posting anti-feminist comments online as part of, quote, combating misogyny on the internet, a day of action. I look to Sweden, where 2 weeks ago the government convicted a Christian activist for participating in Koran burnings that resulted in his friend's murder. And as the judge in his case chillingly noted, Sweden's laws to supposedly protect free expression do not, in fact, grant, and I'm quoting, a free pass to do or say anything without risking offending the group that holds that belief. And perhaps most concerningly, I look to our very dear friends, the United Kingdom, where the backslide away from conscience rights has placed the basic liberties of religious Britons in particular in the crosshairs. A little over 2 years ago, the British government charged Adam Smith Connor, a 51-year-old physiotherapist and an Army veteran, with the heinous crime of standing 50 meters from an abortion clinic and silently praying for 3 minutes.
Make that one make sense.
Not obstructing anyone, not interacting with anyone, just silently praying on his own. And after British law enforcement spotted him and demanded to know what he was praying for, Adam replied simply, it was on behalf of the unborn son he and his former girlfriend had aborted years before. Now, the officers were not moved. Adam was found guilty of breaking the government's new buffer zones law, which criminalizes silent prayer and other actions that could influence a person's decision within 200 meters of an abortion facility. He was sentenced to pay thousands of pounds in legal costs to the prosecution. Now, I wish I could say that this was a fluke, a one-off crazy example of a badly written law being enacted against a single person, but no. This last October, just a few months ago, the Scottish government began distributing letters to citizens whose houses lay within so-called safe access zones, warning them that even private prayer within their own homes may amount to breaking the law. Naturally, the government urged readers to report any fellow citizens suspected guilty of thought crime. In Britain and across Europe, free speech, I fear, is in retreat. Fortunately, when I look at Europe...
And you need to make Europe great again. It's a mess. Trent Steele saying Trump and Elon are implementing fascism. And then the common sense chat approach says demanding financial transparency of state spending while decreasing its size and power is actually the opposite of fascism. If you want to get honest here, can't read you what that last one was, but yeah, tyrants and traitors, you know. Tar and feathering. American citizens watching the IRS get audited by the federal government. Well, well, well. How the turntables. The chat is saying, I just want to know where our tax dollars are going, and they're being spent. And here's your NPC. No, that's right-wing extremism. No, it's not. Dems say they're open to shutting down government to oppose Trump if we have to. Oh, F yeah, bud, says the libertarian. Ayn Rand, you know, some people whose writings from years ago don't age all that well. Other people's writings age very well. In this country, people care to defend or even to understand capitalism. Fewer still wish to give up its advantages. So if they are told that capitalism is compatible with controls which further their particular interests, be it government handouts, minimum wages, price supports, or subsidies, they will go along with such programs in the comforting belief that the results will be nothing more than modified capitalism. And thus the country is moving by imperceptible degrees through ignorance, confusion, evasion, moral cowardice, and intellectual default, not towards socialism or any altruistic ideal, but toward a brutal de facto fascism. At present, we are a disintegrating, unsound, precariously unstable mixed economy, a random mongrel mixture of socialist schemes, communist influences, fascist controls, and shrinking remnants of capitalism still paying the costs of it all, the total of it rolling in the direction of a fascist state. Here's the vaccine industry hiding behind their profits, while RFK Jr. investigates the exponential increase in childhood. You know the thing. Here's the lady shrieking, he's separating children from their parents. And he says, you wanted the state to take my kids away because I didn't get them injected with the C shots. F you. Government's pissing away our dollars. Doge is stopping it. It ends now. Yeah, well, you know, this is the... They ask Malay, but you get Donald Trump. How's that for being born under a bad sign? Illegal immigrants and USAID are doing it in the corner, and Doge catches them. RFK Jr. is a danger to public health. Anyway, Trent Steele, Liberty Dad. It's a decent account. Miss Nobody putting this out there from Dr. Jack Cruz. The world's largest mosquito factory is in Medellin, Colombia, and funded by Bill Gates. They breed 30 million mosquitoes per week that are genetically modified and intentionally released in 11 different countries. I'm sorry. Nobody needs more mosquitoes. Can we stop this yesterday, please? Here's more J.D. Vance being awesome.
And unfortunately, when I look at Europe today, it's sometimes not so clear what happened to some of the Cold War's winners. I look to Brussels, where EU commissars warn citizens that they intend to shut down social media during times of civil unrest the moment they spot what they've judged to be, quote, hateful content. Or to this very country, where police have carried out raids against citizens suspected of posting anti-feminist comments online as part of, quote, combating misogyny on the internet,
now it's
a day of action.
To this other part. We already covered this second part here. I don't know how far it goes. Let's see if it goes further, because this one might go a little past.
I look to Sweden, where 2 weeks ago the government convicted a Christian activist for participating in Koran burnings that resulted in his friend's murder. And as the judge in his case chillingly noted, Sweden's laws to supposedly protect free expression do not, in fact, grant, and I'm quoting, a free pass to do or say anything without risking offending the group that holds that belief. And perhaps most concerningly, I look to our very dear friends, the United Kingdom, where the backslide away from conscience rights has placed the basic liberties of religious Britons in particular in the crosshairs. A little over 2 years ago, the British government charged Adam Smith Connor, a 51-year-old physiotherapist and an Army veteran, with the heinous crime of standing 50 meters from an abortion clinic and silently praying for 3 minutes. Not obstructing anyone, not interacting with anyone, just silently praying on his own. And after British law enforcement spotted him and demanded to know what he was praying for, Adam replied simply, it was on behalf of the unborn son he and his former girlfriend had aborted years before. Now, the officers were not moved. Adam was found guilty of breaking the government's new buffer zones law, which criminalizes silent prayer and other actions that could influence a person's decision within 200 meters of an abortion facility. He was sentenced to pay thousands of pounds in legal costs to the prosecution. Now, I wish I could say that this was a fluke, a one-off crazy example of a badly written law being enacted against a single person. But no, this last October, just a few months ago, the Scottish government began distributing letters to citizens whose houses lay within so-called safe access zones, warning them that even private prayer within their own homes may amount to breaking the law. Naturally, the government urged readers to report any fellow citizens suspected guilty of thought crime. In Britain and across Europe, free speech, I fear, is in retreat. And unfortunately...
All right, I think that was... Sorry, it was played twice, but it started at a different point. I was wondering if it was going to continue to a different point. Here's a nice reminder. You know, we asked for Edward Snowden to have his charges pardoned. The guy's a hero for exposing all the Fourth Amendment violations. Deep state. If you want to spy on our stuff, you need to go get a warrant, pal. That's how this stuff works. And Edward Snowden exposed that, and he's been exiled. People don't realize how hard it is to speak to a world full of people that don't realize they're living a lie. That's a quote being attributed to Edward Snowden. Maybe it is, maybe it ain't. Here's JD Vance again. Oh, no, I think this is like the quote of the day, it seems. I wish I could say this is a fluke, a one-off crazy example of a badly written law being enacted against a single person, but no, free speech is in retreat. Don't need to play it again. Melissa Street saying that California has failing schools and failing leadership. Shared from Denise Aguilar, 209. California spent $130 billion on K through 12. What's TK? What is TK? K is kindergarten? What is TK through 12? Anyone know what the TK means? California spent $130 billion on TK through 12 education in 23 to 24. It's about 24 grand a student. Yet most students can't pass basic tests. ELA, only 47% meet standards. Math, just 36% pass. Meanwhile, wildfires rage, infrastructure crumbles, billions are mismanaged. The wildfires are not the only crisis in California, clearly. God, I think they're all reposting
and expressing opinions isn't election interference.
All right, well, it is what it is. Okay. JD doing JD things. How's he doing? How do you feel about JD Vance so far? Everything's been about Trump and the cabinet, but how's JD doing? Dr. Schenkren says, Senator Chris Coons shares this. I wouldn't let RFK Jr. give me a Band-Aid, let alone run American healthcare. I'm a no. Okay. Dr. Shannon Croner says, you won't have to worry about that. Band-Aids actually contain cancer-causing chemicals called PFAS, so Bobby likely doesn't have any to give you. Then there's the article, bandages contain cancer-causing toxic forever chemicals. Why are any of these products cancer-causing chemicals allowed? Why is this something Johnson & Johnson lawsuit is alleging Band-Aids contain toxic forever chemicals? Shared on July 16, 24. Band-Aid, Walmart, CVS among bandage brands containing toxic PFAS. Well, crap. What happened to our feed? There we go. This is shared from Cafe Cito Break 10.0. And this is Del Bigtree talking about Maha. And it's silent. There we go.
People say, is Robert Kennedy Jr. going to take a vaccine away? I would say Robert Kennedy Jr. is going to begin a conversation of transparency, of talking about the actual science that is written in every one of these lists, pages and pages of injuries that are right here, written by the manufacturer by law because they are happening to real children and real people, and no one in front of me right now has ever written about this story. Why? How can you say you're doing your job? Who are you working for? We are supposed to be the fourth branch of government, the fourth estate. We are supposed to challenge these things and say, for how many years will we let these injuries happen before someone decides to make a better product or do a study and figure out, is there a test we can do to see if you're vulnerable to these injuries? We've never studied who these injuries are happening to. Sure, go ask the experts, just like Tony Fauci, who told you social distancing was science and questioning him was questioning science itself. Just like the vaccine stops transmission, which every single one of you wrote. I don't know how many of you have apologized for getting wrong.
Nobody.
But on the high wire one day before anyone, the show that I do online, before anyone received a COVID vaccine, I read the emergency use authorization by the FDA. And it said very clearly, this study could not prove whether or not this vaccine can stop transmission. So what were you writing about? Where was your science, and exactly how do you call the people that got it right the spreaders of misinformation? You have been the spreaders of misinformation. You have gotten it wrong. And America is still waiting for an apology.
Yeah.
And so when people say, is Robert Kennedy Jr. going to...
Yeah, we're still waiting for an apology. They never apologized. Bobby doesn't have to apologize the same way. Nick Freitas saying feeling something night that a friend once said. You read Hayek, Mises, Bastiat, and you become a libertarian because you just want to be left alone. And then one day you realize they're never going to leave you alone. And you become something else. Here we are. It's a shame that the wall was too expensive, says Wade Stotts. NPR says $11 billion and counting. Trump's border wall would be the world's most costly. That's from 2020. New York Post. HHS splurged more than $22 billion on grants for migrants, including cash for cars, home loans, and startup businesses. That's double what it would have counted to just build the damn wall. And we just said, you don't hate Obama, Biden, Harris, Democrats enough. Whoop, where'd we go? The NPC says, Republicans will be exposed by this too. This Chad walks up to him and says, whispers into the ear, good. Good. That's sort of the point. Here's a nice Valentine's Day post for you. Feel free to share this. It's on the Instagram page. Go to the New American Media and like the page. Follow it. Hit the notification. Share some of our content, please. Leave some comments. Engage with the algorithm. I'm trying to get rebuilt back over there. I'm trying to build back better. This Valentine's Day card says, I must be building 7. The way that I'm inexplicably falling for you. Oh, I can't wait for the 9/11 report. That changed me. It changed all of us. Here's another one. This is Jeffrey Epstein with his Valentine's Day card. I have a minor attraction to you. I have a minor attraction for you. Are we finally ready for the Epstein files? Oh, I sure hope so. I sure hope so. Here's the Trump Valentine's Day. You're my Valentine, the best Valentine. Very special, absolutely terrific. Other Valentines, total disasters. Complete losers. Believe me. That's kind of a good one. Here's Elon saying, my heart goes out to you. My heart goes out to you. I can only do the first part of that, right? This is written down, so I'll just go ahead and say it again. Why not? Said it once before, but it bears repeating now. Remember that song? I think it's called Fell in Love with a Girl or something. Said it once before, but my love is fleeting. Said it once before, but it bears repeating now. RFK from Autism Capital, shared from the Brokeback Patriot. RFK Jr. said, a lot of people told me I should not trust President Trump and that I should get our agreement in writing, but we just had a handshake. Every single thing President Trump has promised me, he has done. He's done more than he said. I believe President Trump is a revolutionary president. We need a hero on a white horse, and President Trump is that hero. Here's... I think they're going to rub off on each other, maybe in a good way. Trump is welcoming RFK Jr. to his White House, swearing in. There's President Trump surrounded by Big Macs and all the McDonald's you can imagine.
All right, enough! Stop it!
Like Elon Musk, RFK Jr. is going to assemble a team of 19 to 24-year-olds to follow fat people around and do this all day.
All right, enough! Stop it! Stop. All right, enough! Stop it! Stop. All right, enough! Stop it! Stop. All right, enough! Stop it! Stop.
Wow. Could you imagine?
Profitable.
Yeah, profitable. Illuminati bot is saying that. Here's Elizabeth Warren in her own words, shared from the Daily Caller.
In fact, he may have the opportunity to bankrupt the vaccine manufacturers, and then nobody gets vaccine. Or profit.
I feel like that might be part of the point here. The golden age of memes is about to end. Here's memers when RFK Jr. is confirmed as HHS secretary. Uh-oh. And then memers when they realize RFK Jr. is going to rid them of their autism.
Initially.
Oh, my gosh. Illuminati bot again, talking about Trump's Department of Justice launching RICO investigations. He's saying his initial inclination would be to use
the Justice Department and the moral authority of the office, but also, the Justice Department should immediately call in begin an investigation of the medical boards and the collusion between the pharmaceutical industry and the medical boards that are delicensing these physicians who actually try to heal patients and try to treat them.
Yeah.
The Justice Department will also call in the medical journals that are corrupted by the pharmaceutical industry and explain to them that they're all going to be subject to criminal and civil RICO actions if they don't show us a way that they're going to stop revoking studies and refusing to publish studies that challenge the mercantile interests of the initial inclination.
All right, that one cut off. But yeah, I think it's time. Babylon B says Democrats rush to chug as much seed oil as possible before RFK Jr. takes over. I love the graphic. Look at this. Oh, doggone it. I'm on the wrong. Oh, how long has it been doing that? How do I? All right, I guess I'll go small here. Do the ends justify the memes? That's a good graphic. Nate Morris. Mitch McConnell has now voted against RFK Jr., Tulsi Gabbard, and Pete Hegseth. He's openly trying to sabotage President Trump and keep selling Kentucky voters out. Too many politicians here are still too afraid or too controlled by him to call it out. It's time to take out the trash. Oh, my God. What can I do to get rid of Mitch McConnell? I have no love for the Republicans. Screw that guy. What can I do? Can I take his spot? I'll take his spot. What do I have to do? I can wear a suit. I can go speak. Oh my God, Mitch McConnell's one of the worst people in government.
RFK Jr.
Trump on Mitch McConnell
as the next health secretary, citing conspiracy theories. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I feel sorry for Mitch. And I was one of the people that led. He wanted to go to the end and he wanted to stay leader. He's not equipped mentally. He wasn't equipped 10 years ago mentally, in my opinion. He'd let the Republican Party go to hell. If I didn't come along, the Republican Party wouldn't even exist right now. Mitch McConnell never really had it. He had an ability to raise money because of his position as leader, which anybody could do. You could do it even. And that's saying a lot. But the fact is that he raised.
And that's saying a lot. Was that Caitlin Collins? Was that a dig at her or a dig at Mitch or a dig at both?
Money, and he gave a lot of money to senators. And so he had a little loyalty based on the fact that as leader, you could raise a lot of money. Senators would call me and they say, he wants to give me 25 million. Can I take it? I'd say, take the money. Take the money. But he engendered a certain amount of, I don't even call it loyalty. He was able to get votes. But I was the one that.
RFK Jr. as the next health secretary, citing conspiracy theory.
All right, that was the end of that. Can we get an end to these quotes that cut off like without ending the sentence? I'm really kind of annoyed by that. Libertarian Party says we'd like to congratulate Senator Mitch McConnell on his total irrelevance. Breaking: restaurant chain Steak and Shake is switching over to 100% beef tallow for their fries. The RFK Jr. Maha era begins. Dude, I think I have a Steak and Shake somewhere near me. I might go to one now. There's RFK Jr. heading to FDA headquarters. RFK Jr. heading to the FDA headquarters tomorrow. Say goodbye to your seed oils, whores. Okay, finally, another J.D. Vance quote that's not the same one that played on those three other clips. This is the one I was looking for. Talking about why you need sovereign nations and borders and rules and guidelines and shared history, and not the Obama agenda to flood your country with people from Central America, South America, Africa, parts unknown. Trying to erase borders, erase cultures, erase tradition, erase history into a nice homogenized puddle of goo that doesn't mean anything for anyone. Nope. And J.D. Vance is telling Europe to get it together.
To Brussels, where EU commissars warn citizens that they intend to shut down social media during times of civil unrest the moment they spot what they've judged to be, quote, hateful content. Or to this very country, where police have carried out raids against citizens suspected of posting anti-feminist comments online as part of, quote, combating misogyny on the internet, a day of action.
Okay, I heard this part before. Please tell me he's going to get to the part that's actually in quotes.
I look to Sweden, where 2 weeks
okay, yeah, this is different. Okay.
ago, the government convicted a Christian activist for participating in Koran burnings that resulted in his friend's murder.
Sorry, guys.
And as
there's a quote right after this we're supposed to get to. This is what I've been meaning to. My kingdom for a producer.
The judge in his case chillingly noted, Sweden's laws to supposedly protect free expression do not, in fact, grant, and I'm quoting, a free pass to do or say anything without risking offending the group that holds that belief. And perhaps most concerningly, I look to our very dear friends, the United Kingdom, where the backslide away from conscience rights has placed the basic liberties of religious Britons in particular in the crosshairs.
I would forward through this if I could. I can't do the forward. I'm sorry. Thanks for hanging with me.
A little over 2 years ago, the British government charged Adam Smith Connor, a 51-year-old physiotherapist and an Army veteran, with the heinous crime of standing 50 meters from an abortion clinic and silently praying for 3 minutes. Not obstructing anyone, not interacting with anyone, just silently praying on his own. And after British law enforcement spotted him and demanded to know what he was praying for, Adam replied simply, it was on behalf of the unborn son he and his former girlfriend had aborted years before. Now, the officers were not moved. Adam was found guilty of breaking the government's new buffer zones law, which criminalizes silent prayer and other actions that could influence a person's decision within 200 meters of an abortion facility. He was sentenced to pay thousands of pounds in legal costs to the prosecution. Now, I wish I could say that this was a fluke, a one-off crazy example of a badly written law being enacted against a single person. But no, this last October, just a few months ago, the Scottish government began distributing letters to citizens whose houses lay within so-called safe access zones, warning them that even private prayer within their own homes may amount to breaking the law. Naturally, the government urged readers to report any fellow citizens suspected guilty of thought crime. In Britain and across Europe, free speech, I fear, I look to Brussels.
Oh my God!
Where EU Commission.
I'm sorry. There is a quote where he says that no voter on this continent voted to open the gates to these millions of unvetted immigrants. That's literally what it says here. I'm sorry, guys. Like, I played that clip for you 3 times because I'm trying to get to that clip. Oh, that's frustrating. We'll mute this. Elon Musk says the bureaucracy is overwhelmingly geared to serve the Democratic Party. Farzad says, I'm having an impossible time getting this chart out of my head. Doesn't this very strongly imply that the entire bureaucratic apparatus around our nation's capital is geared to serve one party? How else could one describe this? In Washington, D.C., Kamala Harris got 92.5% of the vote. Trump got 6.6%. Colin Rugg says these are all nonpartisan public servants, we've been told. Wall Street Mav says maybe we should move some agencies to other areas of the country. Yes. Get them out of D.C. Move the departments. Close them down. You can't have D.C. as one uniparty. That's how the deep state has been able to run roughshod with the Democrats. Paul Pula says the bureaucracy in D.C. is an arm of the Democratic Party, just like legacy media. Agreed. Whoop, hold on.
This USAID thing is so much worse than people realize. Do y'all remember when people were angry at Elon Musk for buying Twitter for $40 billion? Because he could have solved world hunger with that money. Okay? Keep that same energy. Okay? We were supposed to have sent like somewhere around $200 billion to Ukraine. Remember all those little packages? Well, even Zelensky says that only about half of it even got there. So there's $100 billion that's just floating around somewhere. That could have solved world hunger. But your government was so inefficient and so corrupt, and you don't even care about it? In fact, you're more mad that we stopped USAID for a minute and paused it so we can figure out what the flip all of our money's going to, bro? This is not a normal response. Your reaction is being manipulated by the media. It has to be, because you would be mad under any other circumstances. Imagine your dad left you a business that used to make you $100 a month, and now that business is losing you like $10,000 a month. You would go in and go, what's going on? And it's like pretend it's a mattress company. And you look at the expenditures and you're like, well, these aren't springs and cotton and mattress sheets and things like that. No, we're buying cement in Dubai for 10 times the price that anybody else ever paid. What's going on? And then one of the managers comes up to you and goes, hey, you're not supposed to have access to this warehouse. What are you even doing in here? You would be like, I'm getting scammed so hard. Pause everything. Yeah. Everybody's going to jail, bro. Meanwhile, Maui, North Carolina, and California are all burning down, and we never seem to have enough money for that. Hell, Flint, Michigan's water costs like $1.5 billion, and it would be fixed, bro. We give Ethiopia more than that every year. And then you start looking at all the politicians that have been connected to this thing, and you wonder, why are these guys yelling so much? And you look into how they're receiving their revenue. Oh, it goes out in USAID, it does a little cool loop-de-loop dance, and then comes back to their families. Oh, well, Ross, if it was this bad, the news would have told us about it. Nope, because the other thing USAID is funding is all of the freaking media, bro. They are deciding what you guys think, which is why all of them have made you all think that we're the bad guys this whole time.
We are not the bad guys. We're the good guys trying to stop this nonsense. They are the bad guys, clearly.
They knew that if we won, we would see this and cut off their funding.
Yeah. All right. That was what I had prepared for today. Yeah, here's Trump doing what we were talking about a moment ago. Here we go. Trump defunding any school that still has COVID jab requirements. This is what I voted for.
Okay, that solves that problem.
Okay, that solves that problem. It's that easy. It's that easy.
So will the Department of Education have to handle that?
Yes, it'll go through the Department of Education. Okay.
There you go. That solves that problem. All right. Let's just check and see if any news broke. Are there any stories before I wrap this up? Any stories that I need to get to that I haven't been able to talk about? This is your chance to put anything in here that I might have missed. Let's see if anything has broken while we were doing the show. Oh, am I at the top of this? I guess I got to share it like this. A drone armed with a warhead hit Ukraine's Chernobyl nuclear plant early on Friday. This seems to be another false flag attack to sabotage peace negotiations to end the war in Ukraine. That is very bad. We got to find out where these $95 million are coming from. 75 million, 67. Elizabeth Warren, Chuck Schumer, Mitch McConnell. Yep, border czar Tom Homan looking into prosecuting AOC. Democrats, New York is moving to allow 800,000 non-citizens to vote in local elections. Elon saying Democrats are importing voters. It's very important to understand that they are really doing this at scale. In fact, it's not rhetoric. Vivek Ramaswamy and his father-in-law in D.C., they talked about diverse issues, including innovation, culture, and more. Yeah, India and Trump are getting together, working on some stuff. Yeah, there's the explosion. Luke says the Russian government is saying this is a false flag. Who do you believe? And why would this happen now when we're so close to peace? Can you make that make sense? Doge just canceled a $25,000 grant for empowering LGBT refugees in Greece. Why the heck are we funding that? And Elon says so many situations like this. Jasmine Crockett now has a reported net worth of $9 million, despite only earning $174,000 a year. She owns 3 different homes, and her net worth grew like crazy now that she is the poster child for fake eyelashes, bad sound bites, and backward rhetoric. Anything else? A woke gunman. Andy No is talking about, did you know the anti-Trump gunman who tried a mass shooting in Milwaukee on February 12? Of course not. Haven't really heard about this story at all. This guy, man with a rifle, and he was very woke, and he was ranting and talking about all sorts of stuff, and that happened 2 days ago. You haven't heard about it. It's on our X feed at American_media_. Please check that out. Judge John McConnell, the crook who ordered the Trump administration to unfreeze Inflation Reduction Act funds, disclosed that he owns $250,000 stock in a company that received $75 million from the act. This is the most egregious conflict of interest ever, according to George. This judge should be impeached and kicked out for overseeing any future cases related to this administration. Agreed. Female Secret Service trainee has shot herself in the leg on Wednesday, requiring an airlift to a nearby hospital. Come on. Nick Sortor reporting the USSS Academy is supposed to be one of the toughest in the world to be accepted into, yet the effects of Biden's 30% women policies still linger. Many still remember the Secret Service agent Butler in the attempt on Trump's life, who couldn't even figure out how to holster her weapon. I thought we were beyond those days and truly wish Dan Bongino was there to clean this crap up. Bank records and voter registration records show a whistleblower confirming beyond a shadow of a doubt Adam Schiff guilty of perjury, voter fraud, and mortgage fraud, violating both state and federal laws, according to Fine Point with Chanel Ryan here, reported by Real Robert. The good news is that the statute of limitations begins at the date of discovery. The complaint has been officially filed just recently this year. In other words, the FBI Director Kash Patel can arrest and charge U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi can prosecute and incarcerate the criminal Senator Adam Schiff for the crimes of perjury, voter fraud, and bank fraud. So keep your eyes peeled on that one. There's a protest against Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth by military spouses at a U.S. base in Germany. They're upset that he got rid of wokeness and DAI. Is this not my profile? Bernie Sanders is in full panic mode, realizing that Trump won and the Democrat Party is collapsing. Brian Cates The number of false flags that Ukraine got away with the help of NATO, which is owned by CIA, MIC, and ICS, is not an insignificant number, maybe as high as 24. Remember that cool story about how Russia blew up its own pipeline? Seriously, people. Come on, we know better. Actually, let me see Vance. Hang on. Vance migration. All right, let's go with this one.
Our shared society. And of all the pressing challenges that the nations represented here face, I believe there is nothing more urgent than mass migration. Today, almost 1 in 5 people living in this country moved here from abroad. That is, of course, an all-time high. It's a similar number, by the way, in the United States, also an all-time high. The number of immigrants who entered the EU from non-EU countries doubled between 2021 and 2022 alone, and of course, it's gotten much higher since. And we know this situation, it didn't materialize in a vacuum. It's the result of a series of conscious decisions made by politicians all over the continent and others across the world over the span of a decade. We saw the horrors wrought by these decisions yesterday in this very city. And of course, I can't bring it up again without thinking about the terrible victims who had a beautiful winter day in Munich ruined. Our thoughts and prayers are with them and will remain with them. But why did this happen in the first place?
Yeah.
It's a terrible story, but it's one we've heard way too many times in Europe and unfortunately too many times in the United States as well. An asylum seeker, often a young man in his mid-20s, already known to police, rams a car into a crowd and shatters a community. How many times must we suffer these appalling setbacks before we change course and take our shared civilization in a new direction? No voter on this continent went to the ballot box to open the floodgates to millions of unvetted immigrants. But you know what they did vote for? In England, they voted for Brexit, and agree or disagree, they voted for it. And more all over Europe, they're voting for political leaders who promise to put an end to out-of-control migration. Now, I happen to agree with a lot of these concerns, but you don't have to agree with me. I just think that people care about their homes. They care about their dreams.
It cuts off there. Yeah, no voter on this continent went to the ballot box to open the floodgates to millions of unvetted migrants. There you go. There you go. JD Pants. All right. That's going to conclude today's episode of the Agree to Disagree show. Thank you for following the New American Media. Appreciate you. It's been an interesting week, reconfiguring several things and juggling other things, but we're back and better than ever, doing everything we've always done. Super excited for the next chapter. Happy to have you all here. Make sure you're all subscribed. Make sure you like. Try to leave comments. Watch some of our previous videos on Rumble and YouTube. If you've never checked out our archive, maybe go to YouTube and scroll through our most popular videos of the past. There's a lot of highly viewed videos with people you recognize that might be pretty cool if you've never had the chance to see them before. On X, we're at American_media_. We are on TNAM and TNAM Chat on Signal and Telegram. We are on the New American Media on Facebook, on Instagram, Truth Social, Rumble, YouTube, and the Agree to Disagree show podcast on Spotify and Apple, whatever it's called. I've never downloaded a podcast, so whatever you call it on Apple, I think we're there. Also, if you would like to contribute to the show, we appreciate it because we are 100% crowdfunded. It is a goal to get some sponsors. I just haven't really ever put the energy into it. Maybe I should get some sponsors, get some firearm sponsors. Maybe I got an idea of some cool sponsors. Let's see. But yeah, we are on patreon.com/the New American Media. If you wanted to sign up for, just $5 a month, you too can help Brian get some coffee for his daily shows. I think we have a $15, $100, and $1,000 a month option, whatever you can. And I mean, it's all good. No, not on shrooms. Kenneth. We are on, what are we at? PayPal at Fuzz Installment. F is in Frank, Fuzz Installment. Cash App, $ Brian Engelman. And on Venmo at Brian Engelman, BrianEngelman. If anybody wanted to contribute. Any other place that I want you to follow us? I think we're going to do TikTok. I think we're going to sign up for TikTok. Now we can stream it directly through Restream, and I'm excited for this. I think I'm going to create an account and really only use it to Restream on. TNAM in a can. I just saw something that was hamburgers in a can. Someone said, I once again saw this picture, and I'm reminded that I would never eat a hamburger out of a can. So yeah, we'll do TNAM in a can. That'll be a new product for us. But anyway, I appreciate you all for watching. I'm not entirely certain if I'm going to do a show tomorrow or not. We'll see how things go. But for now, we appreciate every one of you for being here. I'm going to sign out. Till next time, appreciate you. Love you. And we'll talk to you again soon. Take care.